Good evening. This is David Dutton in the Channel 1 Atlanta Command Center. It's 7:20 Eastern Time, and we're live from Atlanta with continuing coverage, breaking news and severe weather tonight. In particular, it's coverage of election night in America, of course, and we're going to be bringing you the very latest on the election results as they come in throughout the country, and of course here in Georgia. Now, so far, the polls just closed here in Georgia at 7 p.m. Eastern Time this evening, and so far it is too close to call here in Georgia, so that may take a while. We're going to continue to bring you coverage throughout the night, beginner coverage right now, from a variety of sources across the local Atlanta area and across the nation, as we begin right now with ABC News.
Behind with the support of black women in Georgia. All right, so I'll let you have that for fodder there, but there's certainly a story developing, and you know, this was key to Joe Biden's flipping Georgia back in 2020. And as she's running below Joe Biden's levels there, that is something to watch, although her numbers are still strong with them. All right, I'll hand it back to you, John and Shannon.
All right, what a fascinating report. That's great to see. Georgia, just some numbers as they come in. Trump's leading about 51.5% to 48% for Harris, but that's only with less than 4% of the vote.
Yeah.
So we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, the night is young. All right, we've got reporters on the ground all across America, all of these states that we're following.
All right, the critical battleground that we're really looking at tonight is Pennsylvania. The polls are closing in a little over a half an hour. Our Jeff Flock, our intrepid Jeff Flock is there. Jeff, what's the mood where you...
We have an election alert to tell you about right now. Kentucky has went to former President Donald J. Trump. Trump wins the state of Kentucky tonight and gets 8 of the electoral votes there. Also, Indiana goes red for Donald J. Trump. Trump wins the state of Indiana and collects 11 electoral votes from there. So you need 270 to win. So far, Harris has 3 and Trump has 19. Again, we're on the road to 270 tonight, and we will keep you updated. Also, Vermont. The state of Vermont has went to Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris picks up 3 electoral votes from there. And again, Vermont goes blue for Harris.
Right, I've been talking to election officials all over the country, and particularly in the states of Georgia and Michigan. I think it's very.
And again, Harris has 3 right now, with over 3.4 million votes tallied so far across the country, electoral votes, and Trump has 19 electoral votes, with 4.1 actual votes going toward him at this time. So if you look at it this way, it's obviously way too early. We're just barely getting started here. So far, nationwide, Trump is winning as far as the most votes at the moment. But of course, we're going to continue to monitor this throughout the night. Let's go back to Fox News.
I was assaulted.
Attacked.
I needed to protect my rights.
The business should have known something like this could have happened.
If you're the...
With regard to the economy, when it came to their vote, state of democracy second, followed by abortion with 14%, and then immigration, again, foreign policy fifth by quite a distance. Now, remember that phone call that Donald Trump made, that hour-long phone call to Secretary of State Raffensperger in 2020, when he famously said, I just need you to find me 11,780 more votes. What's interesting is when, in these, again, preliminary exit polls, but as far as the confident the election conducted fairly and accurately for 2024, 81% confident in Georgia that it is, which is significant. Another big number we're going to be looking at all throughout the night, women. So far, again, just preliminary, but 54% of the voters in Georgia, females, and they are breaking 53% for Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, 46%. Now, I just want to give you a little bit of perspective here. 2020, Biden actually was up by 1 point when it came to the female voters in Georgia compared to where Harris is, and Donald Trump is actually up 1 point with female voters. But again, this could change throughout the night.
So Biden performed better with women in Georgia, at least this early in the night.
That is correct, just by 1 percentage point.
All right, Lindsay Davis, our thanks to you. And again, the last time a Democrat won the state of Georgia was Bill Clinton back in 1992 and President Biden 4 years ago. And as Lindsay pointed out, that became the famous phone call that we heard so much about, 11,000 votes, when the former president said, can you just find me those 11,000 folks, votes, people who've gone to the polls. And Secretary of State Raffensperger is going to love seeing that preliminary exit poll, that people have confidence in the system, because he's been out there and very public on this.
Yes. It is very significant because quite often we have heard that idea of people trying to undermine the election integrity. But I will say throughout the last 3 nights, we've talked to secretaries of state throughout the country who are all saying business as usual. People should be prepared that the process is playing out.
All right, 26 minutes past the hour. When we come back, Lindsay, thank you. We're closing in on 7:30. Polls are about to close in the North Carolina battleground state with its 16 electoral votes. So again, we're already tracking Georgia. In just about 4 minutes here, all eyes will be on North Carolina as the first numbers come in. Stay with ABC News. We're just getting started tonight. Back in a moment.
When we come back, polls close in North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia as millions of Americans cast their votes. We're live across the country on ABC.
You Gregory Eddie, you saying I'm not a good dad?
What?
I think what we need, me and you, fight night.
A parent wants to fight Gregory.
That's how Fresh Prince began. We can't lose Gregory to Bel Air. He can't afford it. There isn't going to be a fight.
I'm opening this up for bets regardless.
Jane starts tomorrow.
Ding, ding, ding. Time to fight.
I got your back, man. Now open up, say ah.
Let's make fall easy with Estes Services. Our furnace replacement repair and maintenance make it easy to stay warm in the cool fall months. Our electrical system upgrades and repairs keep everything up and running, so you'll never miss a play. And our plumbing services will keep the hot water flowing on a cold fall evening. When you're the best, you're in demand. So don't let the cold weather catch you by surprise. Call or visit our website to make an appointment today. It's that easy. It's Estes.
So, you gonna play this week?
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 You gonna play this
You
week?
gonna play this week? You gonna play this week?
You gonna play this week?
You gonna play this week? This week?
And welcome to the Ingles Game of the Week. As the Warhorses square off against the rival.
He's going in.
He's going in. Go, baby!
Ingles, we're with you every step of the way.
You never think about your roof until it's leaking. And let's not forget, your roof covers everything you own and love. Sometimes the signs are clear, like wet spots or water streaks inside your home. It's what you don't see that's really scary. Water is your home's worst enemy. Finley Roofing, the roof guys, are the gold standard in roofing excellence.
Over 65,000 local roofs installed, all with a lifetime leak-free warranty at no additional cost. Schedule your free roof analysis now at finleyroofing.com.
I would say that was my experience.
Feel like you're playing a rig game with insurance after an accident?
The things that the insurance company was trying to throw at me, Ken Nugent knew all their tricks. Get a lawyer that will fight for you. Everybody's like, oh, you called Ken Nugent. And now I'm like, yes. Literally all you need is that one call. That's gonna change your life.
The Original Mattress Factory is proud to be rated the best mattress store in the U.S. by Consumer Report subscribers. Subscribers gave OMF top scores in price satisfaction, selection, service, and customer support.
I
At Strayer University, we help make your U.S.-based education more affordable by offering our International Student Scholarship, which covers up to 25% of tuition, so you can always keep striving.
This is an ABC News special. Election night in America. Who will be the next president of the United States? From ABC News headquarters in New York, here again, David Muir.
Welcome back to ABC News Live election night coverage. Now 7:30 p.m. here in the East. Polls have now closed in 3 more states tonight, including another key battleground state, North Carolina, with its 16 electoral votes up for grabs. The polls have just closed there. The moment we get numbers on this board, we'll go right back to it. But as we mentioned earlier, Donald Trump has spent a lot of time in North Carolina in these final days of the campaign. We're also still watching the battleground state of Georgia. That closed about a half an hour ago now, and the numbers coming in there. Donald Trump taking a pretty sizable lead. Again, just 8% of the vote coming in. And the moment we have more, we'll come back to that as well. We do have something that we can report now, and that is from West Virginia. Donald Trump has picked up the state of West Virginia at its 4 electoral votes. Trump won there by 39%, 39 points in 2020. This was expected now officially in Trump's category. Ohio tonight, 17 electoral votes. Used to be a battleground state. Now it is likely GOP going into these presidential races become much more red over the years. The raw vote right there. Donald Trump, actually, we don't have the numbers coming in yet, but we will as soon as we can. 17 electoral votes up for grabs. Take a look at the map. This is where things stand tonight. Again, this is the race to 270. You likely know what that's all about, the Electoral College. And as you can see right there, Kamala Harris has won 1 state tonight, 3 electoral votes on the way to 270. Donald Trump, 23 electoral votes. He's picked up 3 states here on the way to 270. And we do have 1 more of our first key Senate races. We're tracking the Senate as well and control of the Senate at the end of the night. Take a look. You can see Jim Justice, the governor of West Virginia. He will fill the open seat. Senator Joe Manchin, who was a Democrat, became an independent as of late, retiring after 2 full terms in the Senate. Jim Justice will now represent West Virginia. I want to get rid of Rachel Scott. She covers Congress, Capitol Hill. Rachel, as we know, in the Senate, all eyes on how many seats. They only need to pick up 2, the Republicans, to take back control of the Senate. Here's their first pickup. And again, this is the number at the end of the night, so there could be surprises elsewhere. But a lot of eyes on Sherrod Brown in Ohio and Jon Tester in Montana. These are both states that Donald Trump won handily, and they're trying to defend their seats.
Yeah, and Senator Joe Manchin, who decided not to run for re-election, gave Democrats a whole lot of headaches when President Biden, during that first administration, his first couple of months in there. But the biggest one is probably this one right here, because it almost ensured that this seat was going to go toward Republicans, already netting 1 right now. David, you said it. They have to net 2 by the end of tonight. Also keeping our eye on Ohio and Montana. These are both states that Donald Trump won. You have the last 2 statewide Democrats in both Montana and Ohio. You have Sherrod Brown in Ohio. You have Jon Tester in Montana. We're doing very tight races. And David, I just want to remind our viewers here, we're going to be keeping our eye on this all night, but this is the current makeup of the Senate. Democrats have 51 seats. Republicans have 49. Democrats playing a lot more defense tonight, defending 23 seats. Republicans only have to net 2 by the end of the night to take the majority.
Or 1, right, if Donald Trump wins, because then the VP has the tie-breaking vote.
Exactly. The cleanest path to victory will be just 2, but net 1 to take the White House.
And they've picked up 1 already. Let's swing over to Rick Klein at his board there. And Georgia, we have some new numbers coming in from Georgia.
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit more roll in. We still have most of the vote out. Well, still about 90% of the vote still to come. But I am clued into some of the Republican parts of the state, because you're starting to see the numbers roll up for Donald Trump as expected, ahead of his benchmark in a county like Greene. Again, these are smaller counties, but that's how things get pieced together. We're still waiting on most of the vote in Atlanta and its immediate suburbs, but you're seeing that pattern emerge where some of the bluer parts are just racking up more Democratic votes. Some of the swing counties we're going to be keeping an eye on to see how these numbers shift throughout the night. They haven't moved very much yet, but it's still early in Georgia.
And how about Florida? I know the Harris campaign was not counting on Florida. That used to be a battleground state as well. Now leans Republican, and Donald Trump's doing quite well.
Yeah, and we don't have enough information to project the state, but with about 2/3 of the vote in right now, we are seeing a Republican romp in some formerly Democratic parts of the state. This is really striking. Miami-Dade County, that used to be a place where Democrats did very well. Hillary Clinton, even though she lost in 2016, she got almost 64% of the vote in that county. Harris so far only at 44%. That is way, way below where she needs to be. Not a contested state. Won't be a surprise if this ends up in Trump's column. But even in more Democratic parts of the state, we're seeing Harris run behind Biden's numbers and significantly behind the kind of numbers she would need in parts of the state like that if she were to win. Look at Orlando, another good example. Harris, a couple of points below Joe Biden's number. And again, Biden's number wasn't good enough to win the state of Florida.
Really interesting. How does the Harris campaign explain that, Mary?
Well, look, I think they certainly weren't ever thought they were going to win Florida. But I will say, the campaign is often quick to note. When you talk about Florida, there's often such a large conversation about the Latino vote, Hispanic vote. They are quick to note that what you see in Florida, understandably, doesn't translate to those populations in other must-win states. It seems obvious, but is worth repeating that what motivates Latinos and Hispanic voters in Florida is not the same as the issues that are top of mind in a place like Arizona, Nevada, or Pennsylvania.
And the Harris campaign has actually cautioned political reporters not to look at Florida and try to extrapolate for the rest of the night. But to be performing under levels of Joe Biden is still something that they've got to be a little concerned about. I want to get to Whit Johnson. He's covering the campaign as well for us tonight. He's at Trump headquarters, and they've got to be happy with what they're seeing so far in Georgia.
Yeah, David, exactly. I actually spoke with a Trump advisor a short time ago, and he said they're very encouraged what they're seeing in Georgia and North Carolina. Specifically, this advisor told me that rural voter turnout in Georgia is through the roof. That's what he said. And that's something that they definitely need to continue if he wants to take Georgia. In North Carolina, as Rick was pointing out earlier, the Trump campaign really seeing some encouraging signs with that early vote, saying that Republicans for the first time in state history outpaced Democrats in the early vote. But then there's still the question of independents, which way they will go, and the question of whether these are new Republican voters or Republican voters who would have come out on election day but were encouraged to come out early. So it remains to be seen how all of that will play out, but certainly some encouraging signs that the Trump campaign is pointing to. As for the president himself, he is hunkering down at Mar-a-Lago. We're told that he hasn't had much sleep. He had a busy 24 hours barnstorming some battlegrounds, a late night in Michigan, flew to Florida, voted here this morning. And at Mar-a-Lago, even still, we're told that he's working the phones. He's calling campaign staffers, various offices, even calling into radio stations. And we're told that he's doing everything he can to actually run through the tape.
This is a Channel 1 Atlanta election alert. Good evening, David Dutton here in the command center in Atlanta at 7:36 Eastern Time. We have another projection to bring you right now. Donald J. Trump has won the state of West Virginia tonight, going red, and so he picks up the 4 electoral votes from the state of West Virginia on the road to 270. So far, he has 23 electoral votes versus Kamala Harris's 3 so far. She won the state of Vermont earlier this evening. So again, Kamala Harris has 4.7 million actual votes, and Trump has roughly a little over 5.7 million votes. He's approximately 1 million votes ahead of her at the moment, but again, it's still way too early. More polls are closing at 8 o'clock. A couple of precincts here in Georgia, we're broadcasting from Atlanta, got delayed by as much as up to an hour in some places, because in Fulton County and also this evening in DeKalb County, we have found out today that they had to close them for about 30 to 45 minutes because there was a bomb threat at 2 locations in Fulton County, Georgia, and 1 location in DeKalb County, Georgia. This is all right up against downtown Atlanta. And no one was injured. There was no bombs. But early indications is the threats came from Russia. So there will be a continued investigation into that. But elsewhere across the country, there are no major, certainly nothing of that magnitude that we are aware of that happened across the country today. It seems like everything has went pretty smoothly so far. And the only problems we have found is right here in Atlanta. So with that said, let's go back to continuing coverage. We're going to switch over now to, as our live team coverage continues all night long, as we switch over now to Fox News.
Carolina right now, but again, that's probably early vote to a large degree, and it's only in this much of the vote that's been counted so far.
Well, and some of those excerpts, too, are going to be interesting. Union County, Cabarrus County, Nash County outside of Wake County, because those are becoming more well-educated, more affluent, and slightly more diverse than they used to be. And so those will be indicators of where we're headed.
Let's let Guy get a word in here.
Well, I would just say, I think independents are probably going to be the ball game, because for the first time ever, Republicans actually outpaced Democrats in the early vote. It's never happened before in North Carolina. I spoke to some really well plugged-in GOP sources in that state who said, yeah, we understand there's a problem on the governor's race. The polls showed the problem. Like the fact that we called it this early against Robinson for Stein is not a shock to anyone at all. The question to me was, which way will the independents end up breaking down in that state? And some early indications in Georgia and Florida are looking fairly good for Republicans on that front. Are independents, if that's true, are independents in North Carolina a different breed and going a different direction, or do they sort of herd together, or at least sort of move in that direction as one up and down the eastern seaboard, still in the southeast? That's one of the big questions we'll be watching.
Are they more like Virginia or Georgia? They're independents, right? Do they go north or south?
Well, and generally they split about
We're going to wrap this segment. We've got a lot more to talk about, including Georgia, where Trump has a big early lead, but nothing from the big counties yet.
All right, so our election night coverage continues. We are going to be looking at all of these things and more. Polls closing in 17 more states. Top of the hour.
All right, let's put up the Electoral College scoreboard. 270 votes needed to win. Trump at 23. Kamala Harris still at 3 because Vermont is the only race that has been called for her so far statewide. We'll be right back. Live look at Milwaukee now. Critical state of Wisconsin.
There are 750 U.S. military bases around the world. One of them had to be the least important.
I like this soldier.
He just ran into a door.
But at least he ran.
Dennis Leary is Going Dutch. Series premiere this January on Fox.
Insurance companies know which law firms will jump at any low offer, and which ones are serious about getting their clients the most money. Just imagine how much money you could lose by choosing the wrong law firm. If you're hurt, get more money with Montlick.
Find out what your guaranteed offer would be and receive the strongest cash offer in the industry. Mark Spain Real Estate is the most trusted real estate team in the U.S. with nearly 10,000 five-star reviews. Sell your home for maximum profit without the hassle of putting it on the market. With a guaranteed offer, there are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the most experienced real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
It's the Rooms to Go holiday sale, and we're celebrating in style. Choose your perfect look, like this stylish reclining leather living room, just $14.95 or $31 a month interest-free. Save on beautiful rooms like this, on sale for only $11.88. Shop our incredible selection.
Are safe in those polls. We sat down with him a few weeks ago and talked about some of the issues that we've been talking about today, about the confidence in the election here, especially after what happened 4 years ago, the concerns that many voters have had that led to a number of laws that affected the way that we vote here in Georgia. And he was confident that people would feel that this would be using his words, a clean election. And it's very interesting to look at some of those data points from the exit polling that suggest that people on both sides of the aisle sort of feel that there is some confidence in the election here. And so that, of course, is a win for the Secretary of State. I want to underline something that Rick has been pointing out, and that is that I, too, have been talking with officials here in the Trump campaign who have been pointing out that when you look at the highest turnout so far, when you look at the turnout percentages across the state of Georgia, the counties that lead the way are deep red counties, some as high as 70%, which is absolutely incredible. The only issue there, of course, is that most of the people who live in this state live in the metro counties in what has now become a very blue part of Georgia. And of course, we're waiting to see those votes still come in tonight.
Steve Osatami live in Atlanta for us. Steve, thanks so much. And as Steve was talking about, perhaps maybe he didn't see the Rick Klein map with the blob on the map. That was the most exciting thing Donna Brazile has seen all night. That blue, that big blue circle around the Atlanta metro area, which means a lot of the vote still needs to be counted in Atlanta. Speaking of Donna Brazile, Reince Priebus, Governor Chris Christie, they're all here. Can't wait to hear their take. What they're watching tonight as we go into the night, what they think both candidates need to do to get across that finish line. We're going to be right back right after this. ABC News live coverage of Election Night 2024 continues right after this.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in. I'm in.
I'm in too.
I am in.
I'm in. I'm in too.
I'll be here.
David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, the most watched newscast in America, and honored with the Emmy Award, winner for Outstanding Live News Program. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast.
If it's the big story, it's on 2. Channel 2 Action News this morning. I'm Fred Blankenship.
And I'm Lori Wilson.
A little bit of a later night in New Hampshire. Back to you, Shannon. John. All right, Molly Lyon, thank you so much.
All right, let's bring in Charles Payne-Dow, the host of Making Money on the Fox Business Channel. This is right up your alley because our Fox News voter analysis found that 40% of people who voted said that the economy was their #1 issue. And what's really interesting, we didn't get a chance to talk about this when we were on America Reports earlier, but Trump voters say they're really feeling the pinch of the economy. Harris voters are saying not so much.
Yeah. And
is that just perception, or is that somehow
part perception? But you know what's happened, John, is that the parties have, this has been a sort of a historical point. The Democrats are now the party of the more affluent. It's the party of the elite, educated elite, the top 1%. And so, yes, their voters, they're now their core constituents who are doing better. By the way, they got a lot of help. You know, they wanted to spend up to as much as $1.4 trillion to pay off taxes, and earned income tax credits went up to couples making $300,000. Programs that were initially designed for poor folks were rejiggered, particularly during COVID, and expanded to people who really didn't need it, just like the $1.9 trillion, you know, that we got in that COVID relief. So the irony is that this is not perception per se, it's the official crossing where the Republican Party under Trump has become the party of the blue-collar worker.
Well, what about this closing on the economy that Harris has really made up some ground on this? It was a huge benefit to President Trump. And then as she's campaigned over the last 105, 106 days, there's been a close there. And one of the things I've heard the most from the other side is this tariff question. Right. Because Trump talks about it a lot, and they're like, okay, that's an automatic $4,000 extra dollars for every American family. It seems to have stuck with people.
It has, and I think you have a couple of things. You have, obviously, the media has pounced on it. And tariffs generally is something that even real conservative economists don't like. And everyone points to Smoot-Hawley, right? That was, right after the market crashed, the world was falling apart, and everyone sort of panicked, and we put in tariffs. There were counter tariffs, and it didn't work for anyone. But what Trump is talking about is that the reason they used tariffs at Smoot-Hawley is because they had actually worked in 1922. As we were coming out of World War I, a Great Depression, and we were trying to help our farmers. They actually worked with McKinley. And in fact, President McKinley created an environment where Republicans essentially dominated for the next 30 years. And we didn't need taxes then, right? We didn't have taxes until 1913. So tariffs were the primary way we raised money. Obviously, it's a larger, more complicated economy now, but only people have heard a lot of negative things about it. I don't know that people understand, though, from a negotiating point of view. It's my prediction. If President Trump wins tonight, or whatever they count it, yeah, if he comes out of this as the winner, I'm predicting an Iranian hostage moment for him. Remember Jimmy Carter, the Iranian hostages? They let him go on the day that Ronald Reagan was inaugurated. I believe China will come to the table with some sort of a deal by the time President Trump, elected President Trump, will be inaugurated, because he went to war with them when he was in office, and they have stumbled badly ever since.
So do you think the deal will include Taiwan?
It won't include Taiwan.
I mean, like we're going to take Taiwan. I mean, an agreement to leave Taiwan
Let's
alone.
just be peaceful.
No, I think they can never say they're going to leave them alone because that's in their national charter that eventually they want to bring Taiwan
leave them
back.
alone for now.
But less saber rattling, saber rattling. But I think in terms of reciprocal commerce, because of all the tariffs they put on us, hey, it's just reciprocal.
Charles, great to see you tonight.
Good to see you,
Always
too.
good to
Thanks for
see
joining. Thanks
you.
a lot. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, Fox News Democracy 24 coverage of election night continues.
Here is a look at the race to 270 as we count down the minutes to more polls closing in several states. At the top of the hour, Donald Trump still with 23, Kamala Harris with 3. That's going to change, though. We'll be right back.
Tubi is proud to be free for all small business owners. But it's also free for thugs and cronies who shake down small businesses for money. Because Tubi is free for everyone, and we mean everyone.
Are you tired of living with that awful joint pain in your knees, hips, back, and shoulder? Ready to get your life back? Call QC Kinetics now, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. These non-invasive treatments harness your body's own healing power to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Learn how all-natural advanced regenerative medicine can bring you lasting relief. QC Kinetics.
Find out what your guaranteed offer would be and receive the strongest cash offer in the industry. Mark Spain Real Estate is the most trusted real estate team in the U.S. with nearly 10,000 five-star reviews. Sell your home for maximum profit without the hassle of putting it on the market. With the guaranteed offer, there are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the most experienced real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Retirement looks different for everyone.
Hi, Harry. What do you have for us today? Right this way.
Harry, it's great to see you. What can we do for you today?
You need a financial advisor that understands what you want to do in retirement.
I think we can make this work.
Let Hoffman Financial Group help you build your financial dynasty. Hoffman Financial, official partner of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Hello, Atlanta. This is Shelley Butcher Anthony III, CEO and founder of This Is It Southern Kitchen and Barbecue. It's that magical time of year again, Thanksgiving, and we have a special offer just for you. A whole turkey, cornbread dressing, cranberry sauce, gravy for just $99. That's right, just $99. Go to thisisitbbq.com and order today.
We have reporters across the country tracking all of the pivotal races for you tonight. Our coverage of Democracy 2024.
Yep, let's turn now to Nate Foy in Ohio, tracking the Senate battle that could determine the balance of power in the upper chamber. Hey, Nate.
Hey guys, good evening. Yeah, a lot of money spent in this Senate race, more than $400 million in ad spending. The polls now closed in Ohio, and strong voter turnout. More than 2.5 million Ohioans voted early at this specific polling location. At 5 a.m., there was a line around the building with people ready to cast their vote. They know what's on the line. The state is expected to go with former President Donald Trump for a third time. 17 electoral votes on the line there. But the key race that everybody is watching is for the U.S. Senate seat, with incumbent Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown seeking a fourth term against the GOP challenger Bernie Moreno. Moreno, new to politics, Brown the opposite. Been in politics for 50 years at this point. And Senator Brown has really campaigned on reproductive rights, which are enshrined in Ohio's state constitution. Moreno told us last night for that reason it should be a non-issue, and he believes that Senator Brown is turning abortion into a political weapon.
There is no ability federally to be able to handle abortion at the federal level one way or the other. So what I'm going to focus on as a United States Senator is to bring people together on this issue.
Trump's impact will certainly be felt here down ballot in that Senate race. Keep in mind, no Democratic senator has ever won an election in a state that Trump carried while Trump was on the ballot. So we'll see if Senator Brown can buck that trend with enough split ticket voters tonight, or if Bernie Moreno can ride that Trump momentum to a win. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, there are places we see those split tickets. It actually happens. All right, Nate, we'll check back with you in Ohio. Thank you so much.
Could be a lot of ticket splitting tonight. We're now back with our panel to digest the latest results. First thing I wanted to point out was Fulton County Police down there in Georgia. Atlanta is the big city in Fulton County. Said that there were bomb threats to 32 polling places today. Some of the polls are staying open a little later because they had to be closed down earlier. We do not have any results, Mary Catherine Ham, from those big counties just yet. At the moment, with a little less than 20% of the vote in, Trump leads in Georgia 59-39. But that'll change as the results from Fulton, Gwinnett, DeKalb, and Cobb and Clayton counties.
Well, it sounds like thankfully they've got that at least under control and extended a little bit so that people can have their rights and exercise them. A couple of good points for Trump. It looked like in Baldwin County, which the county seat is Milledgeville. It's a place that has been trending. Hillary won it by just a point or so. Biden also. And with 65% in it, looked like +4 for Trump. So if he ends up turning a county like that, that could be a big deal for him. But we don't know if that'll hold.
You know, just to that point about the threats, the FBI today put out a notice about threats and said it was coming from the Russians.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I was surprised that they did that. And my thought was, they're doing this, I think, to signal to the Russians they're on to them. I don't think it was so much to Americans to say, worry about your safety if you go to vote. Right. I think they were trying to tamp down the Russian activity.
Well, and, you know, Guy, we've heard a lot about outsider activity and things that are being watched. And the federal agencies have been very careful to say, we're not about First Amendment. People are going to have a lot of opinions, a lot of things to say about the election. But we do want to make sure there aren't outside actors that are creating chaos that impacts vote totals.
Of course. And it sounds like that is not the case. We hope that turns out to be true. Coming back to Georgia and looking at some of the numbers, I know we're talking about key swing counties, and we're talking about these big urban counties and what will that turnout look like. I think a huge story of tonight's election, not just in Georgia, but around the country, is going to be the rurals. The rurals are going gangbusters right now for Donald Trump and Republicans in the state of Georgia. And you look at one after another outperforming their heavily red performances from 4 years ago. This is a state that came down to so few votes. So of course the swing counties and bellwethers are interesting, and of course keeping an eye on turnout in the big ones will be a huge part of the story. But if Trump and the Republicans are to have a good night this evening in a place like Georgia or nationally, Wisconsin and other places come to mind, keep an eye on rurals, because the rurals are, at least right now, looking really strong for Trump.
So Biden flipped Georgia for the first time since 1992 in 2020. What are you keeping an eye on as these numbers come in? Is it the degree of turnout? And we've just got 10 seconds left.
Well, and we elected 2 Democratic senators also. I mean, Democrats have had a pretty good run in Georgia, and the question is whether that has been flipped tonight. Turnout's obviously the key.
All right.
We'll see.
When it sounds like we've got a little bit of news out of South Carolina, it is not unexpected that it would go, and we now project for President Trump, that would be 9 more electoral votes into his column. We are still very early in the evening, but there's another state called. Millions of Americans still voting out west.
Polls are minutes away from closing in more than a dozen other states, and we are monitoring it all.
Welcome to the real Full Monty.
For one night only, 6 celebrities will bear it all for a great cause. The special event you just can't miss. The Real Full Monty, December 9th only on Fox.
Hello, Atlanta. This is Shelley Butcher III, CEO and founder of This Is It Southern Kitchen and Barbecue. It's that magical time of year again, Thanksgiving, and we have a special offer just for you. A whole turkey, cornbread dressing, cranberry sauce, gravy for just $99. That's right, just $99. Go to thisisitbbq.com and order today.
Not exactly the music you were hoping for? It's time to call Precision. When it comes to garage doors, don't trust just anyone. Call the experts. Our certified technicians are ready to tackle any issue. For a limited time, purchase any new door and get a Genie opener included and up to $300 in cashback savings. Did you hear that? Much better. From garage door repairs to complete installations, we're the team that's got your back. Because at Precision, we fix garage doors right.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. I'm David Dutton from the Channel 1 Atlanta Election Command Center in Atlanta, Georgia, with continuing coverage all night long of Election Night in America. Thank you for joining us. Again, David Dutton here, and we're going to be bringing you continuing election results throughout the night, and we have a projection to tell you about right now. This is a Channel 1 Atlanta election alert. Florida has went to Donald Trump. Again, Florida goes to Donald Trump. He picks up 30 electoral votes there. Another election alert coming in now. Alabama has went red for Donald Trump. Again, picking up 9 electoral votes there. Another election alert. Mississippi has also went red for Donald Trump. Donald Trump picks up 6 electoral votes there. A Channel 1 Atlanta election alert. This just in. South Carolina has went to Donald Trump. He picks up 9 additional electoral votes there. Our election alerts continues as we have Tennessee going red for Donald Trump. He picks up 11 electoral votes there. A Channel 1 Atlanta election alert. Oklahoma has went red for Donald Trump, picking up 7 additional election votes there. In Rhode Island has went blue for Kamala Harris, picking up 4 electoral votes there. Connecticut has also went blue tonight for Kamala Harris, picking up 7 additional electoral votes there. New Jersey has went blue for Kamala Harris, picking up 14 additional electoral votes there. Maryland has went blue for Kamala Harris, picking up 10 additional electoral votes there. And finally, D.C. has went blue for Kamala Harris, picking up 3 additional electoral votes there. So when you tally all that together, right now, Trump is winning. You need, on the road to 270, you need 270 to become president and to win the election. And so far, Trump has 105 to Harris's 72. She has just over 8.1 million actual votes right now that's been counted. And Donald Trump has 9.5 million actual votes. These are the votes that you voted for today, or you mailed in, or early voting that has occurred throughout the month in several locations, including here in Georgia. Again, in Georgia, so far with about 19% of the precincts reporting in Georgia. Trump is winning Georgia at the moment, but it's still too close to call, as several counties are still out right now. I know Fulton County is blue right now for Kamala Harris. That's where the city of Atlanta is, in Fulton County. Expecting that to probably stay blue for her. Mostly Democratic in the city of Atlanta. That's been the trend over the years anyway. We are going to continue now throughout the night with continuing coverage from local and national resources and bring you instant election alerts as they happen. Right now, we are going to go to Fox News for continuing live coverage.
That means President Trump, it is not decisive.
the warm embrace we all call home. This little street is a land of liberty of its own, where I always have a place to go.
Population, 22% of the electorate is black. It's also home to the Research Triangle, so you have a number of college graduates there in North Carolina. That's where we'll begin with the white college grads. 31% of the electorate there identify as graduating from college, and they are breaking, no surprise there, for Kamala Harris, 52%, so more than half of those college grads for Donald Trump, going for Kamala Harris, versus, look at this, Donald Trump losing. He's down again. This is preliminary. These numbers will change, but what we have right now, he has lost 3 percentage points with those with college degrees in the state of North Carolina from where he was in 2020. Now, as for whites with no college, again, no surprise here. Donald Trump almost getting 3/4 of that population there. And again, whites with no college in North Carolina account for about 38% of the electorate. Now, look at this. Harris really taking some strides from where Biden was in 2020. She's up 6 points with those whites with no college degree. So very significant, something that they can celebrate tonight.
Well, according to the exit polls, we got to see if it bears out in the actual votes over on the map. And we're tracking North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Georgia at this hour. New data coming in, and we're going to get right back to the boards right after this. ABC News live coverage of the presidential election continues right here in a moment. Don't go away.
Your voice, your vote. ABC News Election Night 2024 continues in a moment.
Modern home security, my tale. What's Simply Safe got that I don't?
24/7 monitoring that acts on an alarm in 5 seconds to help stop crime in
vote shy of what she needs to be in the White House. So her campaign and Democrats have spent millions of dollars here in Omaha in the 2nd Congressional District to pick up that one electoral vote. And the polls are going to close here in about 40 minutes. And pretty quickly, we should have a sense of where things are going for the night. Democrats, as they have spent those millions of dollars here, though, that is also helping give some headwind to other races down ballot, including one of the most competitive House races in the country. Democratic State Senator Tony Vargas is trying to unseat Republican Don Bacon, and this is a race that has been closely watched. Don Bacon has won each of his races since 2016 by less than 3 points. He told us this race is shaping up to be the tightest he has faced yet. Now, some of the keys for Democrats tonight, things that they are going to be watching, is the north and south areas of Omaha, where there are a lot of black and Latino voters. These are voters that have not turned out in great deal over the last several elections, and Democrats have spent a lot of time and resources to change that this time around, and that's going to be a big part of it. We're also going to be watching in the rural areas around Omaha. For Congressman Don Bacon, this is going to be crucial. He has to see a lot of Republican turnout there. Here in Omaha, it is much more purple than the rest of the state, and he is going to be banking on independents and Democrats who are going to be turning out to vote for both him and potentially for Kamala Harris. We'll see how things are looking here in about 40 minutes. John and Shannon?
Garrett Tenney with the update from Omaha. Garrett, thanks so much. Nebraska works the same way that Maine does.
Yeah.
You get 2 electoral votes for the statewide win, and then you get 1 electoral vote for each of the congressional districts.
So it makes things a little different.
So it breaks it up. Donald Trump could come away with 4, Kamala Harris come away with 1. And again, the really interesting thing, and we can do this on the board a little bit later, is that if she wins the blue wall of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, that gets her to 269, right? And then you punch Nebraska too, gets her to 270.
Yes, and let's bring our panel back in to help us break down all these results coming in. To that point, Mary Catherine, there was a lot of pressure on Republican lawmakers in Nebraska to change it so that all of their electoral votes would be awarded statewide to one person. And there was a really strong holdout there who said he just didn't want to do it. He didn't think it was right that close to the election. And it could be a difference maker.
And he was a Republican.
Right, the Republican.
He was a Republican. He cited, this is the tradition. I don't like changing it this close to the election. These are the rules that we have played by for a long time, and everyone understands them. I understand that take, right? Changing in the middle of the game is a tough ask for a lot of people.
But would Democrats have done it, Juan? If they had
2020
the
shows
chance,
us they would gladly have done it.
Mary Catherine believes it's a yes.
I let Mary Catherine answer for me.
She's right.
Wise man.
All right, so real quick, we just got a minute left. What are you seeing that's significant so far?
So we talked about Loudoun County right before we ended last time. Democrats are looking at places like Hamilton County in Indiana, where she is outperforming Biden 4 years ago, especially with Nikki Haley voters, people who voted for Nikki Haley, these independent, leaning, or Republican women who are really mad about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. That bodes well for other voters that are similar in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. So that is something the Democrats are watching tonight. Those are early indications that those female voters in those suburbs who are really angry going for Harris tonight.
But not in Loudoun, right, in Virginia, so that's one counterpoint potentially. I keep coming back to what I've been talking about so far, independents and rurals. It looks like because of the Florida numbers we talked about earlier this hour, the independents swung to the Republicans in that state. It looks like they might be swinging to Georgia, to the Republicans. Some other networks have exit polling suggesting that that might be the case in Pennsylvania as well. That's a big wait and see. But independents, which way do they tip? I mean, I keep saying it, it's the ball game, and it's too early for us to know, which is why so many of us are on pins and needles, waiting for the actual data to see if it matches with the exit polls.
So she's 16 ahead in Loudoun County. Biden won it by 25, 26.
Right.
So, she's underperforming there, no question. Our election night coverage continues. Here is a fresh look at the road to 270. We break down the latest straight ahead, 105 to 72 at this point.
It's mine. Oh. You okay?
Yeah. Are you okay?
We're fine. My serve.
Maybe we should stop.
This Pinewood pickleball champ stops for no one. Huh? Whoa.
We got our melons checked. She had a concussion.
Admitting I was wrong is worse than losing at pickleball.
Saving your brain is a definite win.
Don't mess with your melon.
If you hit it, get it checked.
Fox Wednesday, 60s night is here. It's double elimination night. Whose mask will come off? And just how many will go home? The ding dong keep it on bell is back in play.
Right now I want to ring the bell.
Time to pull out all the stops. And they call the rising sun.
I don't know what to do.
All new Masked Singer, followed by The Floor, Wednesday on Fox.
Retirement looks different for everyone.
Hi, Harry. What do you have for us today? Right this way.
Harry, it's great to see you. What can we do for you today?
You need a financial advisor that understands what you want to do in retirement.
I think we can make this work.
Let Hoffman Financial Group help you build your financial dynasty. Hoffman Financial, official partner of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Popeye's Wings are the official wing of watching football. Win the wing game every week with 7 signature flavors, including new sweet and smoky chipotle.
Speaking of flavor, this holiday season, you can order a Cajun-style turkey at your local Popeyes.
You need a team you can trust. At Reliable Heating and Air, we're committed to keeping you cozy all year long. Since 1978, Reliable has offered home heating and cooling services with exceptional reliability and customer service. Now that's reliable.
Hello, Atlanta. This is Shelley Butcher III, CEO and founder of This Is It Southern Kitchen and Barbecue. It's that magical time of year again, Thanksgiving, and we have a special offer just for you. A whole turkey, cornbread dressing, cranberry sauce, gravy for just $99. That's right, just $99. Go to thisisitbbq.com and order today.
Millions of Georgians cast their ballots today as the nation waits to see which candidate will become the next president of the United States. Thanks so much for joining us for this Georgia election update. I'm Tom Haines.
I'm Christine Spiro. Here is a look at early numbers here in Georgia as they're trickling in tonight. 6% of the votes are reporting right now, and Donald Trump has 57% of the vote to Kamala Harris's 43%. 187,000 votes have come in for the former president to Kamala Harris's 140,000.
Yeah, we're getting waves of these results coming in, so those numbers will change. Fox 5's Denise Dillon now standing by in Atlanta, where Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger held a news conference about an hour ago.
Denise, what should voters be aware of as the votes come in throughout the night?
Well, they're going to come in a lot quicker than you might expect because of so many early voters. The very last of the precincts that had extended hours closed about 40 minutes ago. There were 15 locations that stayed open past the 7 p.m., including 12 because of bomb threats. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger said law enforcement responded to each one of them. Dogs swept the area and found nothing. He says those threats came in by email and have been linked to Russia.
And I just want to make sure everyone understands this, that Georgia's not going to be intimidated. The Russia has just decided they picked on the wrong Georgia. They need to pick on the other one in the Black Sea, because we're not going to be intimidated.
And he says 5.2 million voters in Georgia voted this election, a new record. Reporting live, Denise Dillon, Fox 5
Seattle
News.
is safe out there tonight.
All right, Denise, thanks so much. We are joined now by Georgia Gang's Lori Geary.
Lori, we have 6% reporting now. What are you seeing tonight that's surprising you, and what seems kind of status quo?
I think what I'm hearing and what is surprising is that a lot of Republicans in the rural areas, they are extremely happy with what they're seeing in terms of turnout, higher than they expected in the rural areas. Also, though, it's so early.
It is.
We don't have much in from Fulton County. We have nothing in from Cobb. We have nothing in from DeKalb, Clayton, and also Chatham and Savannah and Columbus. So those are the Democratic strongholds. We expect these numbers to tighten up as the evening goes on.
Yeah, Lori, you're exactly right. We've been refreshing the map, right, throughout the night tonight. What is something that you think, as far as the different demos and how they'll play out throughout the night? What is something you're looking for there?
I think what we're hearing from the exit polling is that African American males, that Trump is getting about 25% of the African American male vote in the exit polling. Now, if that holds, that would be one of the biggest shocks, I think, of the night. We know that Trump has been polling better with African American males, but at 25%, that would be a huge number for them.
That would be
very happy about that.
An extraordinary departure from the 20 numbers, where he only pulled 11% of that number.
Would that be enough, though, still you're getting a majority voting for Democrats?
That's close, and you also have to remember that Kamala Harris is extremely strong with African American females. And so would that counterbalance?
Who turned out big today, I understand.
Yes.
All right, Lori, thanks. Thanks for watching it with us. And thank you for joining us for this Georgia election update. We'll be back in about an hour with updated results.
All right, keep it here on Fox 5.
The endless deserts of the West to the fall colors of the East. This is America.
I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with the thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots.
I love our country with all my heart. I see a nation that is ready to move forward.
A nice crowd.
Good evening, America!
America has been hard at work.
It's going to depend on turning out voters.
Making crucial pit stops and crossing paths.
Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency.
The stakes have rarely been higher.
end inflation. I will stop the invasion, and I will bring back the American dream.
I believe in the fundamental freedom of Americans to make decisions about their own bodies.
And the battleground is all around us.
Good to be back in North Carolina.
In Holland, Michigan. Hello, Scranton.
We love you, Las Vegas.
From the hollows to the high-rises, every vote matters.
This election is one of the most important elections I feel in my lifetime.
We have to vote. It's a must now.
Today, democracy is on display.
Let us show what we stand for. Freedom and endless possibilities.
November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country.
Democracy 24 Election Night starts now.
All right, hello from Fox News headquarters in New York. It is 8:30 now here on the East Coast, and polls just closed in another state. We've got results coming. Good evening, I'm Shannon Bream.
And I'm John Roberts. Good to be with you all tonight, and good to be with you as well.
Well, the Fox News Decision Desk can now project that former President Trump will win Arkansas. Now, the state has not voted for a Democratic presidential candidate since Bill Clinton. Of course, that was his home state. Here's a look at how the race is now updated on the race to 270. You can see the battleground states on that map behind these two candidates. In yellow, we are waiting for some key calls there, but for now, that is where the electoral count stands. John, you've got some more data for us from the board.
Yeah, let's go to the touchscreen here, and you can see here is the raw vote totals. 53.4% at this point for Donald Trump, 45.4% for Kamala Harris, but there's still a lot that has to be filled in tonight. Let's go to a couple of key battleground states. Georgia, you can see that this is now starting to fill in. Here's Cobb County, where she's ahead 57-41. Fulton County, she's ahead 71-27. This is where the race is going to be won or lost for Kamala Harris. Here in Clayton County as well, she's ahead by a substantial margin. But as you can see how much of the rest of the state is red there, that's where Donald Trump is going to win or lose the state of Georgia. We talked about North Carolina a short time ago. Let's zoom in on there. The Raleigh area, this is solid blue territory. She's ahead 71-27.1. The eastern lowlands, that's Trump County, as is the central part of the state. Charlotte, she is ahead 69-24. This is where she's going to bank a lot of vote. Asheville area, Buncombe County, she's ahead 73-25. The rest of that western part of the state that got hit so hard by Hurricane Helene, that is where Donald Trump will win or lose this. Now, we were talking about Virginia earlier with the panel. This is one thing that Marie Harf saw that was a little bit worrisome for Kamala Harris in Virginia. She is ahead in Loudoun County, 56-40. When Joe Biden won this, those numbers were 61-36. So she is underperforming Joe Biden in the Commonwealth of Virginia, my home state. So we'll see where that goes. I don't think that Trump is in any danger of winning it at this point. And then here in Pennsylvania, this is what we talk about all the time, Philadelphia County. She has got 99,000 votes. There are a lot of people who say she needs to get that number to 700,000 if she hopes to take the Keystone State. Let's just back up for a second here, and we'll take a look at the Senate race as well, so we could give you an idea of where that stands at this point. 43 Senate seats for the Republicans, 34 for the Democrats. It was 51-49, you'll remember, for the Democrats. It looks like that is going to flip. We just don't know by how much. West Virginia, big win for Jim Justice there as he flips that seat. And here's where we are in the House as well, just to wrap this up. We got a long way to go, as you can see. 48 Republican seats are held, 23 for the Democrats. It's 218 for the majority. And there are so many competitive races there as well. A long night to go here in the House. You know, one of the important races here is going to be in the 17th Congressional District in New York that's held by Mike Lawler. It's a rematch between him and the candidate that he beat last time around. So we'll see if Mondaire Jones can get that back or if Mike Lawler's going to hang on to it. So, Shannon, that's where we are right now with the count. And let's just go back to the presidential race so that you can see exactly where we stand. And that is Donald Trump ahead 53 to 45. That number is going to tighten up as the night progresses. Shannon?
Yeah, millions more to come in. John, thank you very much. So polls set to close in the critical state of Nevada, about an hour and a half. Let's go to Jeff Paul in Las Vegas, where, gosh, there's going to be a ton of attention in the hours to come and maybe days, Jeff.
Yeah, Shannon, certainly. And yeah, as you mentioned, polls are set to close here in about an hour and a half, but we continue to see a steady stream of folks showing up to what is maybe the most expensive and largest polling center in the country as it stands. This is Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. And really, at the moment, the only issue we're hearing about is in terms of signature verification with mail-in ballots. The Nevada Secretary of State says they are working to cure about 13,000 ballots, and they're seeing this with 3 different groups of voters: older voters who continue to change their signature, younger voters who have yet to develop a signature, and then folks who recently got married and haven't updated their voter card. Beyond that, the only other things we're really hearing about are the occasional long line at various polling places. But one thing we really are seeing that could tip the scales in this election, especially with some of these tight races, including the presidential race, we are seeing a huge turnout of nonpartisan voters. They are the biggest voting bloc here in the state of Nevada. So depending on how many of those voters show up and who they choose to vote for really could decide a lot of those tight races.
All right, Jeff Paul, we'll check back with you in Nevada, critical state. Thank you very much.
Both the Trump and the Harris campaigns have been beefing up their legal teams in recent weeks in anticipation of post-election litigation, though there's been plenty of litigation in advance of the election as well.
We have our own legal team that we built up here as well. On our panel, former Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Thomas Dupree and Elizabeth Wydra from the Constitutional Accountability Center. Thank you guys for being with us so much tonight. Okay, we've seen a flurry of activity today, especially in Pennsylvania, some in Georgia. All of these states, we're tracking about 200 different cases right now. But it seems like, Elizabeth, the stuff that's happening on Election Day is being filed quickly. It's being handled quickly. These judges are making decisions that allow the voting to go on as close to normally as possible.
Absolutely. So what we've seen today in some of these states, as you mentioned, Pennsylvania, Georgia, there were some delays with the opening of polls or people being able to cast their votes due to, some technical difficulties. There was a Russia bomb threat to one polling place.
32.
Yes. So, so there's been, some delays to people getting to cast their ballots. And so what these proceedings have done is really just allow people's voices to be heard. Some polling places have been had by courts opened to, 20 minutes, some a couple hours, but it's really about making sure that everyone gets to make their voice heard in this constitutional democratic moment.
Yeah, one of the big cases in Georgia was in Cobb County, where people were handing in their mail-in ballots because they had been delivered late. And initially a judge said, no, you can't count those. Initially a judge said, those have to be counted. And then another judge came in and said, no, you don't have to count them. What's going to happen with those ballots? Will they be sequestered and then a decision is yet to be made? Because apparently the Supreme Court hadn't come down with a final decision.
That's typically what they do. Most of these states, including Georgia, have systems where you can basically cast provisional ballots, which say you can file your ballot, we'll hold on to it, we'll keep it safe, and then we'll decide in the days to come whether we're going to count it or not. But look, I agree with Elizabeth. Today has gone very smoothly. The Trump and the Harris team have been preparing for this day for months. They've assembled armies of lawyers. They are ready to do battle. The battle is probably going to extend for several days after the election, but they were ready for today. And I think what we've seen is very typical from what we've seen in prior elections. There were a lot of brush fires, a lot of litigation skirmishes around the country, but the system is working.
Yeah, now, and the three of us often end up at the Supreme Court, either being involved with arguing a case, not me arguing a case, thank the Lord, but covering these cases or filing in these cases, arguing these cases. And I've been asked a lot of questions about when do the justices get involved? I mean, they don't have a certain case yet percolating to them, but they operate 24/7.
Yeah, that's right. Look, the Supreme Court has the luxury of deciding which cases they want to take, unlike pretty much any other court in the country. You can be sure that they are all keeping an eye on what's going on tonight. They may even be forecasting, well, there could be something percolating in Georgia that it's going to make our way up to us. But there's several steps that have to happen. The case will have to wind its way up through the lower courts and then ultimately land on the desk of the Supreme Court, where the first decision they'll make is whether they even want to hear the case, let alone decide it.
Although we have seen some action on what's known as the shadow docket. These are cases that get to the Supreme Court on an expedited schedule. There isn't the normal briefing and oral argument that we see with the regular cases. And so we saw a case coming out of Virginia where the Supreme Court allowed a voter purge of the rolls to go through. We also saw a case from Pennsylvania where they allowed certain ballots to be cast as provisional ballots, even though there might have been some clerical errors on the dates, for example. So there has been some shadow docket action, but we haven't seen, like, a big case come to the court, although that very well may happen. But I think we are unlikely to see, a replay of Bush v. Gore.
Please. Please.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have even said that. Yeah.
We can't. And trust me, I think the justices are the very last ones who want that to show up, too. Forget
Absolutely
our consternation. Right. They don't want to have to do that.
They don't want anything to do with it.
All right, don't go far. We're going to need you guys tonight.
I was just going to say, just on the Bush v. Gore thing, here is the really funny thing. Let me just pull this up here on our election night. So Florida was the bane of everybody's existence back in 2000, right? And Jeb Bush said, we're going to fix it. 91% of the vote is counted in the state of Florida already.
Millions of people, 2 time zones. They figured it out.
They knew how to do it.
They got it right.
Things have tightened up,
They have. Yeah. Don't go far.
We'll be here.
Okay.
Too bad every state couldn't be like Florida.
Well, they have laboratories of democracy. Maybe they'll take some notes from Florida. Okay, our election night coverage continues. We're just about 20 minutes away from our next round of poll closings.
And here's the latest scorecard. 270 electoral votes needed to win. And it is 111 for Donald Trump, 72 for Kamala Harris. We'll be right back.
John was the most incredible person I'd ever met. Aviation was
Madison Square Garden with that big rally there, some 20,000 people. And I spoke to a lot of these young men and asked them what it was about Donald Trump that appealed to them. Many of them either weren't old enough to vote before or maybe didn't participate in politics in the past, but they were drawn to him for a variety of reasons. Immigration and the economy were a big part of it. A lot of these young men who feel like the middle-class American dream is difficult to achieve, difficult to reach. They felt like they could connect with Trump, and he was the man who could help them get there. But we've seen things like the podcast with Joe Rogan, Hulk Hogan, UFC President Dana White, Elon Musk around the Trump campaign. All of that has been an effort to draw young men in. And even Barron Trump, who is now 18 years old, by the way, Donald Trump's youngest son, who Donald Trump calls a tech genius, has actually been involved in very hands-on and trying to book some of these podcasts to appeal to young men. So the Trump campaign has gone all in. They have thousands of volunteers who are specifically focused on those low propensity voters, the voters who didn't participate in the past. And tonight will be a big test if that gamble pays off. David?
Wade Johnson at Trump headquarters in Florida. Wade Johnson, our thanks to you. And we're going to drill down on Latino voters, what we're seeing from the exit polls in Florida, what we could extrapolate nationwide, and how Kamala Harris is performing among Latino voters as well, in addition to the Trump campaign's outreach to try to peel away some of the Latino support for Joe Biden 4 years ago. And Maria Elena Salinas is standing by. What she's seeing in the numbers here tonight, too, right after the break. Don't go away. ABC News live coverage of the presidential election continues right after this.
Thursday Night Football on Prime. It's on.
Least. It doesn't look like there's been much movement and losses with Latinos.
Robert Costa, I understand you have some new reporting.
Yes, some new reporting. Former President Donald Trump, of course, has not addressed the country yet as he watches these results, but he has spoken in recent minutes, according to my sources inside the room at Mar-a-Lago, to members of his private club, and he has expressed confidence, especially as he looks at states like Georgia and the exit poll data. Though I've been talking to my sources in Georgia via text message in recent minutes, and they say they feel really good about turnout because the Republican Party this time around is unified, unlike it was in early 2021 when the Democrats were able to pick up 2 Senate seats. I just got a text message from Governor Brian Kemp. He said still too early to say where Georgia is going, but they are feeling good. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, Representative Brendan Boyle, a key Democrat in Philadelphia, says Democrats have to feel good. He's seen on the ground very strong turnout among Puerto Ricans in the North Philadelphia precincts. historically low turnout in those precincts. That congressman, who's one of the main organizers for the Harris campaign on the ground, says very high turnout. But all of this is coming as the Trump campaign is preparing to potentially contest this election. Former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon tells me in recent minutes they are preparing a legal and political effort to help Trump fight this in Congress should he appear to be defeated. But right now, a lot of optimism in the Trump campaign, but it is very early.
It is very early. We're also just hearing that in Lehigh County, where we had talked about those long lines of young people at the university wanting to vote, they are going to extend there so that all the people in line can vote. We'll continue to follow what's happening on the ground in these key battleground states. And when we come back, we're going to check in on the battle for the Senate. CBS News, America Decides Election 2024 returns in a moment.
Sure that a judge rules that, yes, they should have stayed open past 7 to make up for that lost time. Every vote should be counting here in Georgia. This is such a tight race. When you look back to the last election, 2020, Biden won by just 0.2%. Now, some context for Georgia. This is a state where a recount is not required, and only after the election, and if it's within 0.5%, can a candidate request a recount. So Biden won by just 0.2%. We know that the polling here was really close. I spent a lot of time talking to voters, and I heard from both sides of the aisle. And also interesting, guys, and I'll leave you with this, I also heard from some independent voters, including a Muslim American man who wanted to send a message with his vote. It's a bold move, especially in a state where every vote for president will count. I'll send it back to you, guys.
All right, Madison Allworth in Georgia. We'll check back with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Madison. Let's bring in some guests to discuss tonight's developments.
That's right. Down in D.C., Penny Nance, the president of Concerned Women for America, and Megan Hayes, a Democratic strategist. Thank you both for being with us. Penny, I want to ask you about this because I know that there's been some consternation among the pro-life groups out there who have said, listen, we really counted on President Trump. We thought he was with us. Now they don't like some of his hedging on the issue of abortion. But it seems like they've still gotten out, knocked doors, spent dollars, and tried to get him across the finish line, despite the differences.
Well, yes, certainly. President Trump doesn't necessarily agree with us that life begins at conception and should be protected from conception until natural death. But he did give us 3 Supreme Court justices that threw it back to the states. Now, we have a big night ahead of us. There's 10 ballot initiatives on the issue of abortion tonight, and we've been outspent 15-1 on that issue. But we're feeling very strong. A lot of prayers have gone out, Shannon, on this issue, and we're very grateful that we can now make the case on a state-by-state basis without the Supreme Court forcing there to be a limit artificially at viability, which is late, 24 or 26 weeks. So we're still fighting that battle, but we're so grateful that we can make that case and bring people to our side. And about half of the states have become more pro-life.
So, Megan, as Penny said, pro-life groups are very grateful for what happened with the Dobbs decision. But then at the same time, this is an issue that has really galvanized Democratic voters. It's the one that limited Republican gains in the midterm elections in 2022, and it's one of the leading issues for Democratic voters this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know the vice president really ran on this issue. I think it's been a really important issue for Democrats this cycle as well as in the midterm elections. And I do think you will see women over 65. You'll see that in these counties really turn out for the vice president, and partly because of this issue with abortion, you know, having reproductive freedom and having those rights to make your own decisions is really important to the Democratic Party, and it's one of the vice president's major stances in her platform. So I do think that that will help her tonight.
Well, and Penny, there are 10 states tonight we know that have got some type of abortion measure on their ballots. And as Megan said, that has worked really well for Democrats. Do you worry that, especially where it's in at least a couple of the key battleground states, it does help to turn out the left?
Well, it does help, but understand there's been an air war going on this issue in which pro-lifers were outspent 15-1. Melinda Gates gave $1 billion to the abortion industry on this issue. And so it's hard to fight. But, you know, I think that a lot of pro-lifers are also showing up. It's not just galvanizing for people who are not pro-life. it's galvanizing for people like me who are going out. It's the #1 issue for us, and I think it'll be helpful for Donald Trump as well.
But on the Democratic side as well, Megan, there's been, we talk about disinformation, misinformation in this campaign. Kamala Harris and her Democratic surrogates have been saying that Donald Trump has the intention to have a national abortion ban. And he keeps saying over and over again that he has no interest in that he wants this left at the state level, and that the federal government's got no interest in it.
Yeah, I just don't think that people can believe what Donald Trump says. I think that he doesn't necessarily always tell the truth, and I don't think that he necessarily follows through with what he's going to say. And I think he also knows this is an issue that hurts him and hurts the party. These suburban women who are, those Nikki Haley voters, those moderate women, to get on his side. So, I'm not saying that I disagree completely that he's not telling the truth. I just think that he had to move a little bit on this to get some of those voters in his camp.
All right, Megan Hayes, Penny Nance, thank you very much. We'll check back with you.
Thank you, ladies.
Our Fox News Democracy 24 coverage of election night continues.
Here is a look at the race to 270 as we count down the minutes to polls closing in more states. At the top of the hour, we will check in live in the critical swing state of Wisconsin in a moment. Part of the blue wall. Stay with us.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
States, and it turns out they may be right. So it is a nail biter. As one White House official put it to me a short time ago, nauseously optimistic is the phrase of the day. Speaking of the White House, President Biden, remember him? He is.
This is a Channel 1 Atlanta election alert. This is just coming into Channel 1 Atlanta. District Attorney Fani Willis has won re-election here in Atlanta as district attorney. You may remember earlier this year, pardon me, that did an indictment against former President Trump. And again, she has just won re-election. That's District Attorney Fani Willis has won re-election here in Atlanta. This has been a Channel 1 Atlanta election alert.
People to. Let's bring in CBS Morning's co-host Tony DeCopel. He's at Trump headquarters in West Palm Beach, Florida. And Tony, what are you hearing?
Hey, good evening, Nora. Well, the room has filled up considerably since we last checked in, and they are noticing what a lot of people are noticing at this hour. Big cheers when Florida was called by another network, and the Trump campaign is blowing up everyone's phone up here on the press riser with what they see as optimistic numbers with independents, with Latinos, and with black voters. And all of that adds up to the first bubbles of a certain champagne mood in the room here in West Palm Beach. It is still early. They are still prepared for anything. But they're definitely starting to smile, definitely starting to sway. They're feeling good here at Trump headquarters.
Tony DeCopel, thank you. And when we come...
Now's the time to go back in time and shine a light on the family journey that led to you. Learn when they said I do. When they became...
Norms of how they voted, but Trump winning in that early vote that is a large portion of the vote in Georgia overall.
All right, Rick Klein showing us the dynamic of the early vote this time around. Donald Trump embracing the early vote with his supporters. They did turn out in force, and we have to wait and see how in some of these other battleground states how that's going to play out. Donald Trump leading in Georgia at this hour. When we're closing into the 9 o'clock hour here, polls close in about 15 states, including the key battleground of Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin as well. Your local news is standing by, and our live election night coverage continues in just a moment right here on ABC.
Money is tight, so we must make sacrifices. I give up my bespoke shaving subscription.
And I'll stop ordering everything that's trending on Instagram.
And I will no longer agree to the add-ons at the oil change place just because the mechanic called me ma'am.
It really is a top-of-the-line filter, ma'am.
And of course, we'll downgrade our insurance to get a lower rate.
Well, you know you don't have to make sacrifices now that you're saving money with the Progressive Home and Auto Bundle.
You couldn't have said that like 6 seconds ago?
Upset stomach? Iberogast. Indigestion? Iberogast. Bloating? Iberogast. Thanks to a unique combination of herbs, Iberogast helps relieve 6 digestive symptoms to help you feel better. 6 digestive symptoms, the power of nature. Iberogast.
After careful review of medical guidance and research on pain relief, my recommendation is simple. Every home should have Salon Paws. Powerful, yet non-addictive. Targeted and long-lasting. I recommend Salon Paws. It's good medicine.
Deadpool and Wolverine streaming November 12th on Disney+. Watch again.
Come again?
And again. And again at home.
Hit me again. It's perfect!
Deadpool and Wolverine streaming November 12th on Disney+.
Me and you, parent teacher, fight night.
Ding, ding, ding. Found a fight.
A parent wants to fight, Gregory. That's how Fresh Prince began.
No one start without me!
There isn't going to be a fight. James starts tomorrow.
The eye of the tiger. This is continuing coverage of Your Voice, Your Vote here on Channel 2 Action News. Hello, I'm Wendy Corona.
Good evening once again. I'm Justin Farmer as we are covering hundreds of national, state, and local races tonight.
So let's get you right to some of the numbers.
Looking at the race for president in Georgia, such an important battleground state. Former President Donald Trump against Vice President Kamala Harris. A long way to go in terms of the counting, but with 14% right now, it's former President Trump with a lead 52 to 47%.
To give you another perspective here, let's take a look at the map of the state, and you can see which precincts have already reported, and you can see right there in the middle of the state there's still a whole lot to go.
So results for several Georgia congressional races are coming in as we speak.
They are, including the results for District 5 covering parts of Fulton, Clayton, and DeKalb counties. Incumbent Congresswoman Nikema Williams wins her race against Republican John Salveson with 87% of the vote. And in District 6, Democratic Congresswoman Lucy McBath claims victory against Republican Jeff Criswell. Now, Congresswoman McBath currently represents District 7, but ran in District 6 this time because of redistricting, and you see she has 76% of the vote.
Republican Congressman Rich McCormick also changing districts. He won his District 7 race against Democrat Bob Christian tonight. That one's being called with a 65-35% margin.
And then there is District 14. The AP is declaring Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene as the victor here with 65% of the vote, only 5% reporting right now.
So far, Wendy, we're not seeing really any surprises, but it's early.
It is early, so we will continue to scroll the latest numbers for you at the bottom of your screen. You can also find them on WSBTV.com and on our WSB TV News app.
Yeah, tell your friends you can watch us online. ABC News coverage, Your Voice, Your Vote continues. We'll see you right back here in about a half hour.
If it's breaking, it's on 2. Channel 2 Action News this morning. I'm Fred Blankenship.
And I'm Lori Wilson. Mornings move fast. Our reporters are the first to know, bringing you fresh, breaking information like no one else can.
The video, the emotion from people watching it happen.
We know you depend on us.
It's why we're everywhere live to prepare you for the day ahead.
Join us on Channel 2 Action News this morning every day from 4:30 to 7.
It's the Rooms to Go holiday sale, and we're celebrating in style. Choose your perfect look, like this stylish reclining leather living room, just $14.95 or $31 a month interest-free. Save on beautiful rooms like this, on sale for only $11.88. Shop our incredible selection room by room, and bring home dining sets like this or this, just in time for the holidays. At Rooms to Go, you get both great sale prices and 50-month interest-free financing. Now during the Rooms to Go holiday sale.
Experience at the all-new Lou Saab Kia of Noonan. Our brand new showroom is ready for you, and we can't wait to show you how fun, fast, and easy car buying can be. Shop all the hot new Kia models like Forte, Sorrento, Sportage, Telluride, and the all-electric EV9, all combined with Lou Saab's award-winning customer service. Get ready for an experience you'll want to tell your friends about at the all-new Lou Saab Kia of Noonan. We can't wait to see you in a Lou Saab Kia.
Covering Douglasville's biggest stories. Channel 2 Action News.
Good evening. It's now 9 p.m. in the East. The polls have now closed in 15 more states, 41 states in all. The battlegrounds of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona are now closed at this hour. ABC News can take a look at some of these numbers coming in from Michigan. Just 8% of the vote in. Kamala Harris with a lead, 54-43, obviously very early in the night. In Wisconsin, you can see that we have no numbers yet. At the moment we do, we'll go back to the Wisconsin board. Arizona's now closed, 11 electoral votes, a key battleground state. Pennsylvania, the numbers continue to come in, 19 electoral votes up for grabs. Really a must-win state for both of these candidates. Kamala Harris with an early lead here, though, 15% of the vote in. Still far too early. North Carolina, 16 electoral votes, 38% of the vote in. Donald Trump with a lead in that state. He's leading by about 100,000 votes. We'll take a deeper dive on North Carolina in just a moment here. In Georgia, 66% of the vote in. And as you look there, Donald Trump leading by about 200,000 votes. That number has been stubborn for the last 30 minutes or so. We'll take a look at the reasons why and where Kamala Harris needs to be performing better if she's going to catch up to Donald Trump in Georgia. In Texas at this hour, we can project, ABC News now projecting that Donald Trump will win the 40 electoral votes of Texas. Donald Trump wins Texas tonight. He also wins North Dakota, 3 electoral votes. That was expected. He won by 33 points.
This is a Channel 1 Atlanta election alert. It's 9 o'clock on the East Coast. And we have a election alert to tell you about in New York. Goes red for Donald Trump.
News projects Donald Trump will pick up North Dakota. The former president.
North Dakota goes red for Donald Trump, picking up 3 additional electoral votes there. Wyoming goes red for Donald Trump, picking up 3 additional electoral votes there. Colorado goes blue for Kamala Harris, picking up 10 additional electoral votes there. Kansas goes red for Donald Trump, picking up 6 electoral votes there. South Dakota, I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, goes red for Donald Trump, picking up 3 electoral votes there. West Virginia goes red for Donald Trump, picking up 4 there. Texas goes red for Donald Trump, picking up 40 additional electoral votes there. Big state, lots of electoral votes there, just like Florida was with the 30. He won there earlier, Donald Trump. We're still waiting for Georgia, 16 electoral votes there, still a toss-up at the moment, so we're waiting on that. And earlier, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, and Illinois, and Maine went for Kamala Harris. So currently at the moment, with the road to 270, Donald Trump has 178 electoral votes with 23, almost 24 million votes right now. Kamala Harris has 113 electoral votes with nearly 21 million votes. So at the moment, Trump is winning by approximately 4 million votes. And again, it's still early in the evening. It's just 9 o'clock. So we will continue to analyze this for the next several hours. Now, in a normal election year, and underline that word normal, we would get typically election results and a projected winner all across the country around 11 o'clock Eastern time. Again, that's in a normal election year. Pardon me. So we'll wait and see, but typically it's around 11 o'clock Eastern time. Is that going to happen this year? We'll just have to wait and see. But again, we're going to be looking, especially between 10:30 and 2 a.m. for a projected winner this evening. And we'll be here with you throughout the entire evening. Let's continue our live coverage right now as we go over to ABC News.
Because of that 16%. is, what the law surrounding abortion will be. The question is how that message resonates, if at all, in other states.
And in particular in Florida, Kate, to vote it down and to vote for Donald Trump, when you look out west to Nevada and Arizona, where it's also on the ballot, it's going to get into this whole notion of, sort of a split ticket, whether or not you vote for the amendment, but then you don't vote for Kamala Harris. You don't tie the two together.
Potential. So I think we're going to see throughout the night how much voters are separating these issues out. But of course, in these states, there are lower thresholds for actually voting to protect abortion. And maybe you will see if Florida voters thought, well, abortion will be protected in our state, we can still vote for Donald Trump because, we'll have protections here for voting for this amendment. That may or may not be true depending on what, if Trump is elected president, what happens at the federal level with respect to abortion. But there may be complex calculuses going on about kind of what state law will mean with respect to abortion and what the federal government could do with respect to abortion.
Absolutely. We're going to continue to track it, particularly in those western swing states. Let's go back over to the map. Rick, you're studying North Carolina right now, 41% of the vote in, and Donald Trump leads by about 100,000 votes at this point.
Yeah, and it's really a kind of a microcosm of the divided country, because it's not that Kamala Harris isn't hitting her numbers. She is largely hitting the numbers, doing about what she needs to against the 538 benchmarks, about what she needs to do when you compare it to what Joe Biden did. We're looking at Asheville, which is the kind of the blue dot in that western mountain range that was hit so hard by the hurricane. She's overperforming the expectations there. A lot of this so far is the early vote. We'll see what else rolls in. But Donald Trump is doing exactly what he needs to be doing outside of Charlotte, in the suburbs, in the more rural areas outside of there. Donald Trump running ahead of where he needs to be to win the state, according to our 538 numbers. And that's a county, Union County, now that has 94% of the vote in already. So it's a significant amount of vote. Davidson County, another example of this, where he's slightly ahead of his benchmark. So we're seeing them run, kind of an even race. Places we have a lot of data right now. We'll see where it lands at the end of the night. But Trump is turning out people in very red parts of the state and across the country. It's a trend we're seeing even in states that aren't that competitive. The Trump base is out in force.
Let's look at Nash County. Can you find Nash County for me? It's one of these boomerang counties that went for Trump, but then went for Biden. Also, New Hanover in North Carolina here. We probably should take a slightly deeper dive on whether or not
Nash County is Trump is winning.
Yeah, right. So it's right here, right outside of Raleigh. This is one of those that we're watching, as you mentioned, David, because there's a possibility, at least for Democrats, to flip counties like this. You see how close Hillary Clinton came, how close Joe Biden came. Right now, Kamala Harris not quite over the finish line. Donald Trump winning by about 1,800 votes in Nash County. And the benchmark would suggest he doesn't even need to win that county. Yeah. It could slip away from him and he'd still be in line. This is a small county. But you're right, it's emblematic of what's going on across the state and really across the region and the country.
And it could be a bellwether, in fact, because this is what Donald Trump is trying to do, is flip some of this territory back his way from 4 years ago. We'll just keep our eye on it. I want to take this out to Byron Pitts because he's in Asheville tonight. And Byron, there was a lot of concern, obviously, over the victims of Hurricane Helene and whether or not they would be able to vote. And both campaigns saying that they did like what they saw on the ground as far as the effort to help people have their voices heard. And what have you seen there on the ground?
Well, David, this has to be one of the feel-good stories of this election night, regardless of which side wins. David, you spent a lot of time here after the hurricane, and you saw the devastation firsthand. It is remarkable, the turnout here. Western North Carolina outperformed the rest of the state in early voting. And that's a good sign for the Trump campaign. As you guys have been discussing, Western North Carolina has been reliably Trump country, and he has to do well here, and he is doing well here. The voting is high. There are parts of the western part of the state where they've had to vote in tents. We talked to one voter, a pastor, who called the response here in western North Carolina, he calls it the miracle in the mountains. This is a man, consider this. He had to drive 1 hour and 45 minutes to vote. He had to leave his house, drive into Tennessee, circle a mountain, come back to his community, cross a river before he could vote. And it speaks to not just the resilience of the people in this part of the country, but also their commitment to democracy. David, I talked to a member of the Trump campaign here in North Carolina. He said the race in North Carolina tonight is as tight as a facelift. And so while they're doing well in North Carolina, there are other areas of the state that look favorable for Kamala Harris. 55.4% of the early vote in North Carolina that went to women, and that's a record in the state. 24% of of the uncommitted voters were first-time voters, which is an indication that young people are voting in high numbers here. There are people standing in line still in Charlotte in some of the university areas, likely young voters, also potentially a good sign for the Harris campaign. I know earlier you and Lindsay were talking about black voters in North Carolina. I want to mention to you the central part of the state in North Carolina A&T. North Carolina A&T is the largest HBCU in the country. Aggie pride runs deep in this state. And so expect Harris to do well in that state, that part of the state, and also in eastern North Carolina, where A&T has one of its largest alumni chapters. So there's a lot going on in North Carolina, still tight, and both camps see reason to be optimistic at this point.
Byron Pitt's on the ground in Asheville. You can see they still have so much work ahead of them in the cleanup of the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Rick, let's pull up North Carolina since we've heard so much from Byron on this, and let's visit a couple more of these areas one more time. Can you get to Wake County, obviously the Research Triangle, Raleigh, Durham County right around there? Let's just see how both candidates are performing according to the benchmark of where they would need to be at this hour.
Yeah, the Research Triangle, where you have the Durham with Duke University and University of North Carolina, just one county over. This is an area where Democrats have really leaned in and try to get as many of the votes as they can. You see Hillary Clinton's numbers tick up a little bit to Joe Biden. Kamala Harris so far tonight with about 3/4 of the vote in, doing better than either of the previous two Democratic candidates. And that is about what she needs to be getting in a place like Wake County. So you see these big numbers and you see her getting 140,000 votes more than Donald Trump there. That is what she needs to be doing in a state where she currently is trailing. We don't have a lot of vote yet in Durham, but this is going to be heavily for Kamala Harris. The numbers in Orange County, again, that's where UNC Chapel Hill is. You're seeing again Harris about hitting the numbers that she needs to at the 538 in the 538 benchmarks. So this area is coming through for her. There's no question about that. Again, though, those gains are being offset by Trump gains elsewhere in the state. Just to look down at Brunswick County, it's an area where Donald Trump's running a little ahead of his benchmark. And as we were discussing a little earlier outside Charlotte, again, these are places where Donald Trump should be winning, and he is winning by a little bit more than he'd be expected to.
It's kind of interesting what we're seeing here in some of these counties. He's overperforming slightly, and so is she in some of the urban areas and some of the areas, the Research Triangle in particular, and with students. Let's go over to Charlotte. Let's a little more time, Mecklenburg, and just see where we are in benchmark.
Yeah, we have almost nothing in from Charlotte so far. It's just about all the early by mail votes, so we're going to have to wait to see how that comes in.
And at least in the early by vote, she's outperforming where she needs to be. So again, this is kind of an unfinished story here, obviously, in North Carolina. 41% of the vote in, and appears to be quite a tight race here in North Carolina. What do we know about Pennsylvania?
Yeah, Pennsylvania, we've been watching really closely because so far the Harris team has to like what it sees. Now, a lot of the vote has come in so far has been early. And as we've mentioned, early vote is not as big a story as it is elsewhere. But Harrisburg, as an example right now, that county, Donald Trump not getting anywhere near where he would need on the 538 benchmarks. And Kamala Harris, again, it's early. We'll see where it goes, running significantly ahead of where the previous Democrats have. You asked me a little bit earlier about Scranton and about Wilkes-Barre, Lackawanna County, another story where Harris, with about 2/3 of the vote in, running ahead of the 538 numbers, running ahead of Donald Trump. Luzerne County, that is one that has slipped away from Democrats. If these numbers hold, that would be a true surprise. I wouldn't be surprised if they change as the night goes on. And we've been focused in on those collar counties. We're waiting for a lot of vote to come in from them, but Harris running ahead of the 538 benchmarks and ahead of Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton's numbers. That is probably the most closely watched of those Philadelphia suburban counties. It's about 5-6% of the vote overall. And we're, of course, waiting on a lot of vote out of Philadelphia. And if you just look at this, you see those big blue dots at the eastern part of the state. Once again, those are places we're waiting for vote. Those red dots, though, are significant, and they add up as they move across the state.
20% of the vote in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris with an early lead here. And again, so much of the vote still needs to be counted. But you got to wonder if we're looking, and it's early, I'm just saying, if we're looking at this blue wall strategy coming to life as we're watching these numbers come in from Georgia, where she's not hitting some of the benchmarks she needs. In North Carolina, still kind of an untold story. Pretty close, actually, when you dig into those counties and see where the vote still remains. But in Pennsylvania, at least with the early vote so far, it appears that she's hitting some of the benchmarks that she hoped to and outperforming them, particularly in the collar counties there with some more conservative leaning suburbs of Philadelphia. Philadelphia. So quite a story unfolding here. So this is where the numbers come in. This is where it actually gets really interesting. So don't go away. We'll dig back into Pennsylvania. Michigan also. The first numbers coming in from Michigan. We'll look at it all right after the break. Don't go away. ABC News live coverage of the presidential election continues right after this.
Can you believe this, man?
Everyone's getting that new Simply Safe outdoor monitoring. Now they can help prevent crime before it even happens.
How do we compete with AI-powered outdoor cameras that alert live agents of an intruder?
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Whoa! I didn't even see those guys.
So what about us now?
Luckily, I'm pretty adorable. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the 2024 presidential election. Here's a quick look at where things stand here. Take a look. It's the path to 270, as you can see on your screen. Kamala Harris, 30 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 154 tonight. They need 270 to win. Still very early. Georgia hasn't been called. North Carolina hasn't been called. It's getting interesting in Pennsylvania, and we'll look at those numbers. The first numbers coming in from Michigan right after the break. Our live coverage of election night continues right after this.
Have you always had trouble with your weight? Same.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
With Wegovy, I lost 35 pounds. And some lost over 46 pounds.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
I'm reducing my risk. Wegovy is the only weight management medicine proven to reduce risk of major cardiovascular events such as death, heart attack, or stroke in adults with known heart disease and obesity.
Don't use Wegovy with semaglutide or GLP-1 medicines or in children under 12. Don't take if you or your family had MTC, MEN2, or if allergic to it. Tell your prescriber if you are breastfeeding, pregnant, or plan to be. Stop taking and get medical help right away. Lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or any of these allergic reactions. Serious side effects may include pancreas inflammation and gallbladder problems. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with diabetes, especially if you take medicines to treat diabetes. Call your prescriber about vision changes, if you feel your heart racing while at rest, or if you have mental changes. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Common side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, stomach pain, flu or upset, headache, feeling tired, dizzy or bloated, gas, and heartburn. Some side effects lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
With Wegovy,
I'm losing weight.
I'm keeping it off.
And I'm lowering my CV risk. Check your coverage before talking to your prescriber about Wegovy.
Suspect is on the roof, requesting backup.
2 daring rescues. Someone's got to go down there. 1 new hero.
I can do it. I'm his big brother.
If we don't try this, we might not get to him in time. 911, all new Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Welcome back to Election Night 2024 on ABC. Here again, David Muir.
Welcome back to our live election night coverage right here on ABC. We do have a winner, a projected winner in the state of Delaware. Vice President Kamala Harris picking up the 3 electoral votes. She wins the state of Delaware, and in the Senate race there, the Democrat Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester, 4-term Congresswoman, looking to become the new senator in that open seat. She wins that race, and Rachel Scott, this is quite a win.
Yeah. It is, David. History made here in Delaware. Lisa Blunt Rochester becoming the first black woman to win a Senate seat in this state. David, I had a chance to sit down with her just a few weeks ago. We talked about the history that she was going to be potentially making. She told me she's going to be thinking about all the little girls, not only just having Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, but also the history that she could be making in this state as well. David, we're also going to be keeping our eye also on one more state, and this is going to be Maryland, where Angela Alsobrooks is running, also has a chance to make history tonight. She's running against former Governor Larry Hogan in this state as well. Angela Alsobrooks, close ally of Vice President Kamala Harris, a very close friend. But if she were to win this race, this would be the first time that we we would ever see two black women serving in the Senate at the same time.
This has been a fascinating race to actually watch because the two are somewhat friendly in their debate. I don't know, it was the most cordial debate I saw in this entire election cycle. They started out by saying, I have respect for you, I have respect for you. We worked together when he was the governor and she was the county executive. But we'll be watching that race very carefully as well tonight. Of course, popular Republican governor who went against Trump at certain points during the Trump administration, looking to compete in a heavily Democratic state. But history already made, though, in the state of Delaware. Rachel, thanks. Rick Klein, what are you seeing in Michigan?
Yeah, we're just our first glimpse into the numbers in Michigan. It's an interesting state because it's one of them that actually made it easier to start processing and counting those ballots. They also did in-person voting in Michigan for the first time on a widespread way. We should note that everything we're seeing here, it's kind of mixed. Some election day, it's some early vote. We also have seen nothing at all from Wayne County, which is Detroit and Dearborn, something we're going to talk about a lot so far. But Washtenaw County, right outside of Detroit, that's an area where Kamala Harris needs to be doing extremely well. And we're tracking her below, so far, her benchmark with about half the vote in. She's not quite hitting that number. And it's an area where Joe Biden really cleaned up. Did better than Hillary Clinton's number right now, at least. Again, it's hard to tell because we don't have a full portrait of the pictures.
That's University of Michigan. That's Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor, University of Michigan, a liberal area of the state. It's also got some suburban areas that the good number of Republicans live. Oakland County, another big county that we're going to be watching all night tonight. And you can see from the 538 numbers, Harris a little bit ahead of where she would want to be. But we're going to see this storyline continually. Republican parts of the state, Donald Trump hitting his numbers just about everywhere. I haven't found many places yet where he isn't hitting where he wants to be in terms of the 538 benchmarks or in terms of the history. The turnout machine, even if it wasn't on the ground the same way it was for the Democrats, seems to have been working, at least in these initial numbers in Michigan and elsewhere.
Let's get right to Juju Chang. She's in Detroit for us. And Juju, President Biden won. This was his biggest win of the swing states, about 54,000 votes, and obviously considered part of this blue wall that Kamala Harris is trying to keep.
And they're trying to shore up the cracks in the blue wall, David, absolutely. You know, the Secretary of State was here just moments ago telling us that she believes the votes here will be tabulated between midnight and 6 a.m. throughout Michigan. Now, we spoke earlier to the Macomb County clerk, and he believes it's a big night for Team Trump. That said, we spoke earlier to the COO of the Detroit Board of Elections, and he said, look, we're on pace to have the count tonight, and we believe there's going to be turnout of more than 50% in Detroit, which is a number that might be of interest to the Harris campaign. Now, the Detroit election official says there's been no chaos, no pandemonium, no banging on the windows like there was 4 years ago. He says he jokingly said he thought he heard them singing Kumbaya in the hall.
All right,
David?
Juju Chang in Michigan. We'll be checking back in with you, Juju. I'm looking at North Carolina, less than 100,000 votes, about a 70,000 vote margin between the two candidates. Stay tuned here. The numbers are just coming in. They're just getting interesting. Your local news standing by, and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes here. Don't go away.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. So you can sell it online, take it in person, and go big, like 1 million orders big. Whatever the stage, businesses that grow with Shopify.
Hank used to suffer from what felt like a cold and flu medicine hangover in the morning. Hank, switch to Mucinex Night Shift to relieve your cold and flu symptoms. Uh-oh. Both help you get to sleep. Mucinex is uniquely formulated to leave your system faster so you wake up ready to go. Going to work, Groggy? Oh! No. Try Mucinex Night Shift and feel the difference. It's comeback season.
Want to lose 15 to 20% of your weight in a year? Try Rose Insurance Checker to see if you're covered for GLP-1s for free. Just submit your insurance card and we'll take care of the rest. Go to ro.co/insurance for your free insurance check.
Look at all these happy wedding guests.
I'm getting married.
Cap, are you crying?
I'm a sucker for love.
Oh, this is a lie.
Only 1 week from tonight on Fox.
Not exactly the music you were hoping for? It's time to call Precision. When it comes to garage doors, don't trust just anyone. Call the experts. Our certified technicians are ready to tackle any issue. For a limited time, purchase any new door and get a Genie opener included and up to $300 in cashback savings. Did you hear that? Much better. From garage door repairs to complete installations, we're the team that's got your back. Because at Precision, we fix garage doors right.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven TD. Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always 1 pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems.
Asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this Georgia election update. I'm Russ Spencer.
I'm Courtney Bryant. Results are now pouring in throughout the country as the nation waits to see who will be our next commander-in-chief.
And here's a look at the early numbers here in Georgia. Donald Trump with more than 2 million votes at this point, 52% of the vote, with about 74% of the votes counted, to 47% for Kamala Harris. Important to clarify that a lot of votes have yet to be reported in Metro Atlanta, including Cobb, DeKalb, and especially in Gwinnett counties, all 3 counties where Kamala Harris is leading.
And we have live team coverage of both campaigns here in Georgia. Fox 5's Rob Dorienzo is live at the Republican Watch Party.
Well, let's begin with Deidre Dukes, who's live at the Democratic Watch Party. Deidre?
And Georgia Democratic Party Chair Congresswoman Nikema Williams took the stage just a short time ago, calling this a historic night, saying that she wanted to thank all those in the room this evening, supporters and volunteers, for their hard work, saying that Harris's campaign is one that is a vision of unity and hope.
She won't be a president for Democrats, Republicans, or just those who voted for her. She'll be a president for all. That's what our country needs and deserves, and that's why I voted for this new way forward in our country.
Georgia Democrats in the room tonight in high spirits as the night wears on. Back to you.
Deidre, thank you. Let's turn now to Fox 5's Enzo.
He's at the Republican Watch Party. Rob, how is the mood there in that room?
Hey there, guys. Well, periodically we'll hear these loud roars of cheers in this room as the Fox News Decision Desk announces more projected winners throughout the night. There's definitely a little while ago we heard from Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. He spoke with former President Trump earlier today.
I spoke with President Trump earlier today, and he wanted me to give a message to each one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the volunteers. Thank you to the door knockers. Thank you to the people who made phone calls, because I can tell you, we're going to have a big night tonight, but we could not have done it without the people in this room. Right here is our foundation. So give yourself a round of applause.
And one top Georgia Republican we haven't seen in the room at all tonight is Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Not clear where he is, but again, there's a lot of positive energy with the numbers we're seeing here in the room right now. That's the latest from here in Buckhead. Rob Dorienzo, Fox 5 News.
All right, still early, Rob. Thanks.
We are joined now by the Georgia Gang's Lori Geary. Lori, I'll put these numbers in perspective. Trump 52-47 over Harris at this point, but only 13% of the numbers have been reported in Gwinnett County so far.
I know. I'm telling you, it's going to be a long night. I think the early votes, which we expected to be done, those just haven't happened. And there's really we're just looking at anecdotal evidence right now. Like, for instance, in Fayette County, Trump won that county by 53% compared to Biden in 2020. Trump is only now at like 51%. But if you look at like Baldwin County, small county, Biden won that one by 237 points, but 237 votes, but Trump is ahead by 418 now. So it's really just small anecdotal things that we can pick out of these numbers, because we're just waiting on more of them to come, especially from the metro counties.
Yeah, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger said that they were expecting most of the results to be in by 8 o'clock. Have they held that promise?
I don't think they have. I mean, there's been more than 4 million early votes, where I think we're at 3.6 million counted, and there are some counties that haven't even reported any votes at all, so it might be a long night.
Yeah.
Glad you're here for the entire night. Thank you, Lori, and thank you for joining us for this Georgia election update.
We'll see you back here at 10.
All right, we welcome you back with another race call. The Fox News decision desk can now project that Texas Senator Ted Cruz hangs on, wins a third term. He defeats Democratic Congressman Colin Allred, who had been way too close for comfort for the Cruz team.
You know, it would seem as though the race was not actually as close as people thought that it was.
Yeah, I mean, the polling at some points had them within a point or two, but there were some skeptics of that.
Well, Guy Benson was saying the same thing in Florida.
Yeah.
The Rick Scott was projected to win by low single digits. He's out there with double digits, too. So, you know, the polls are what they are, and every year they try to get them better. And there's still a lot of times when the polls don't accurately reflect what people are actually thinking. All eyes on battleground Pennsylvania. It's still way too close to call, and it looks like it's going to be a long night in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, or day and night and day. Let's check in with Alexandria Hoff, who's live in this all-important Keystone State. Is a Commonwealth, which I am constantly corrected and reminded of.
I married just like Virginia.
Right, I married into a Pennsylvania family. But Alexandria, I'm sure that you're going to tell us about something other than that.
Yeah, I grew up in the area. You know, it is a constant reminder, especially during election season, because it's counties that run these elections, and they can kind of have their own parameters in some ways, but the Board of Elections statewide does overall control it. Now, the people behind me here, we're in Bucks County. They do not expect for there to be a result anytime soon. That's because Pennsylvania is among a minority of states that don't even begin processing mail-in ballots till 7 a.m. The governor, Josh Shapiro, he just spoke saying that this count will extend through the night. And in theory, polls have closed. They closed at 8 p.m. here, but there have been several exceptions to that. That includes in Cambria County, where a judge ordered that the polling time get extended to 10 p.m. That was due to some voter machine errors, according to officials earlier in the day. In Luzerne County, there was one polling location that was extended to 9:30, so that's now closed. And the DNC, they also had filed a legal petition to keep polls open later in Northampton County due to Lehigh County College or Lehigh University college students. They were in hours-long lines. There was a voting machine error there. A judge actually denied that, so polls are closed now there as well. We are here in Bucks County, and this is really the premier swing county in Pennsylvania. President Biden won it by 16,000 votes in 2020, but now, for the first time in 15 years, registered Republicans outnumber Democrats, and that matters because it's these suburbs of Philadelphia that really pushed President Biden over the edge in 2020. So if Vice President Harris stands a chance of taking this state, she will have to have similar margins in these collar counties like Montgomery County, Chester County, and Bucks County as well. And again, we heard from the governor a short time ago. Something else that he mentioned was the fact that there have been multiple bomb threats at several polling locations throughout the state. He has said that with those, there have been no credible threats to the public. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Alexandria, we'll check back in. Thank you very much.
All right, we got more to tell you now. The Fox News decision desk can project that Vice President Harris will win the state of New Hampshire. Trump came closer than many people expected, but Harris did well in the cities and the suburban areas. So the Granite State goes to her tonight.
Yep, Fox News is tracking the issues that are driving voters to the polls and driving their votes once they get there. Sandra Smith is here to break down our latest Fox News voter analysis. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Shannon. Hey, John. And you're absolutely right. It's the issues for so many of voters all over the country. And we know leading up to Election Day, it's been about the economy. And this is at the national level from our Fox News voter analysis data. Gathered this from over 120,000 voters in 50 states. When we asked them about their view of the nation's economy, look at this. More than 6 out of 10 voters say that they have a negative view of the economy. And when you break that down by candidate to see how they voted, that went to Donald Trump. 66% say they support Trump in this race. If they're concerned about the direction of the economy, 30% for Harris. Another question we put to voters about their most important issue and what they believe is the most important issue facing the country today, 40% said it was about the economy and jobs for them. You break that down by candidate and you'll see they support Donald Trump, but it is close, and we saw this getting closer as we got towards Election Day. Harris did try to close the gap on the economy, okay, but 6 out of 10 voters support Donald Trump if their biggest concern is the economy and jobs. When it comes to immigration, he has the overwhelming support of those voters. They see him best fit to fix the immigration problem in this country. 9 out of 10 voters said so. When you get to the third most important issue out there, abortion, the overwhelming amount of support then goes to Kamala Harris, 85% to Donald Trump's 14%. Now, guys, with the polls closed in Pennsylvania and 19 electoral votes up for grabs in that state, I just want to dive in here and tell you a little bit about what we're seeing as far as
Democratic Party anymore. He said, quote,
back live here in the Channel 1 Atlanta Election Command Center here in Atlanta. It's 9:34 Eastern Time with a quick update. We've zoomed in here on Georgia, where we're broadcasting from. It's still too close to call or a toss-up really at the moment. But so far, former President Donald Trump is leading Vice President Kamala Harris 52 to 46%, with nearly 76% of the precincts reporting. In the state of Georgia, Harris is winning in and around downtown Atlanta and the immediate metropolitan Atlanta area. Those counties have went blue, including Fulton County, for Harris. And in the rural areas of Georgia, the North Georgia mountains, outside of metro Atlanta, central and southern Georgia, away from the major cities such as Savannah and Valdosta, Albany, Macon, if you will, Trump is doing really well in the rural areas of Georgia. And most of the people, there's not people in rural areas, but more people are in the cities than they are the rural areas. So that's where you would see where it's too close to call at the moment, as she's getting the cities and he's getting the country. So we still wait and see. Again, I'm guesstimating on the normal election year, and again, we haven't had one of those in 10 years, but usually we're able to call it by 11 o'clock in the evening. We'll wait and see. Continuing coverage right now, I wanted to switch over something different because we promised you that we would give you a variety of sources instead of saying on just one or two different sources tonight. Let's go now over to Channel 11 here in Atlanta, which is NBC nationwide. For continuing coverage, stay with us.
We want to go to NBC's Sam Brock. He's in Asheville, North Carolina, where I understand the counting is wrapping up. What are you hearing?
Savannah, it's done. Look, I have it fresh off the presses right here from Buncombe County. The official results are in. First of all, they had a 73.69% turnout, which is almost their record high. It was 78 back in 2020. But considering everything that happened in Western North Carolina about a month ago, this is extraordinary. And the results are almost exactly the same as they were 4 years ago as well. It was 60 to 38 in favor of Kamala Harris for this county, which is about 140,000 votes. It was 59-38 back in 2020. This was not, however, your grandmother's democracy process, being sort of a fly on the wall to watch all this happen. Walk with me here for a second. So these are the tabulations that came out. These receipts, guys, were so long, they were strewn across this entire table. I watched as the board went through line item by line item to authenticate it for the unofficial results. There's basically a caravan of cars that comes in. They're all holding from each of the 80 precincts these thick orange cases that have flash drives in them. Bobby, who I'm told has been here with Buncombe County for generations, a 70-something-year-old woman, takes the flash drive out, comes in here and brings it into this room. In the room, it's unencrypted, and so they actually get the data up there and they upload it directly to the county site and then to the state site from this room, and then all of the day of votes get tabulated over in these machines. Fascinating to watch. It is actually now done. Let me send it back to you.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. We've got a projection to tell you about. The state of Illinois, Kamala Harris, as expected, takes it So that's a Midwest hold for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Let's look at the breakdown here. Half the vote in, and it looks like it will be an easy victory as expected. And so we can fill out one more state on our road to 270 map, the state of Illinois going to Kamala Harris. Let's go to Tom Llamas. You're in North Carolina, where we just heard straight from the horse's mouth, Buncombe County right there, Asheville. It's been through so much with Hurricane Helene, and Sam Brock had the poll results in his hot little hands.
But were you calling him a horse? That's like, I'm not sure if you were or not. Sam's a tall drink of water, but he's no horse. He's a handsome man. So listen, along the lines of from what he was reporting, and I just checked out those Hurricane Helene counties. We can show you the ones that were affected by the floods. Let me go, hold on one second. Here we go. So these were all the counties, the 13 counties that were affected by the floods, where people could vote in other parts of the state if they weren't able to vote in their home county. It's interesting. I was going through the numbers. It doesn't look like there's any kind of drop off there. That's actually better news for the president, because there are more Trump voters out there in the western part of the state, with the exception of the blue dots like Asheville, places like that. Here's where a lot of the vote is still out. Charlotte, Mecklenburg. Look, Trump is on top right now statewide. Mecklenburg is the place where Democrats, I'm going to keep going back to Mecklenburg when we talk about North Carolina. This is Charlotte and then the surrounding suburbs. They need to drive up the vote here. It is a majority minority county. Hispanics and African Americans, they have to drive up the numbers here. When they lose races like Senate races, it's because the turnout is not where it needs to be in Charlotte. So not enough vote there. But the good news is there is vote in other places. Wake County, this is the capital. Raleigh, part of the Research Triangle. You can see Kamala Harris slightly overperforming President Biden with 76% of the vote. Whoops, that was a mistake. Let me go back to North Carolina here. Here we go. Okay. Right over here, Durham, this is where Duke University is. 85% of the vote is in. 81%. Let's see how she did compared to Biden. Slightly overperforming there, and just over where UNC Chapel Hill is. Slightly overperforming there. Here's one thing, though, that Republicans have something to possibly celebrate. This is Nash County. This is Governor Roy Cooper's county. This is where he's from. It's sandwiched between Raleigh, Wake County, and the North Carolina Black Belt, where you have those counties with high percentages of African-American voters. It usually, almost always in the last few elections, has picked the winner. 2012 Obama, Trump flips it. Biden it went with Biden in 2020. That wasn't a correct pick. But today, Trump is on top, and you can see that's good news for him, considering that Biden took it in 2020. We're also watching New Hanover. This is Wilmington. You have a lot of people who have moved to the east coast of North Carolina, the coastal communities here. Only 5% in, but this is also one of those counties that has always picked the winner in North Carolina. Not enough vote in to even compare it. I do want to talk about the Triad. This is, again, sometimes the forgotten metro area, but huge population center for North Carolina. A lot of the historically black universities are here as well. Greensboro, Guilford County, 55% in. Let's see how she's doing compared to Biden. Look, she's holding her marks. So this is pretty good. I want to see how Trump's doing, though, in some of the rural counties where he has to drive up the vote. Robeson, look, only 23% in. He's overperforming there. I want to go a little closer to Charlotte. Union County seems to be doing okay. Again, this is along the southern border, right above South Carolina. Seems to be holding his own. Anson, 92% in. This is actually a big flip. Let me see what this looked like in 2016. So this is interesting. Clinton won in 16. Biden won in 2020 with 92% of the vote in. Trump is on top right now. Again, not a large county you're going to see. There's only about 10,000 votes here, but we're kind of reading the tea leaves and seeing where everything's at so far. Again, statewide, 63% in. This is the only battleground state that Trump won in 2020. That's why we're watching it so close. It was very close. It was his slimmest margin. 63% of the vote is in. We're still watching and waiting here in North Carolina. As soon as we can make a call, again, too early, you know we're going to project it, guys.
Tom, you had a little something for everybody in that, no matter who you're rooting for. We got a couple of results to read to you right now. These are ballot measures. We saw the abortion measure go down to defeat in Florida. It had a 60% threshold. In New York, it passes easily. 71% of the vote is the margin there. We'll go to Maryland. There was also an abortion rights measure, and that easily passes as well. Both of those blue states. Let's bring Laura Jarrett into this conversation, because we do have 10 states that have these ballot measures, and obviously Democrats have hoped that would help their fortunes, and especially in these battleground states.
New York, obviously not a place where people think of abortion rights under threat, but the initiative there was broader than just about abortion. It had to do with anti-discrimination principles, more generally. Reproductive health care, a part of that, but it was also about pregnancy and the like. And so that's why it was even on the ballot in a place like New York. But you think about a place like South Dakota, a completely different story. We still have to wait to see what happens there. Arizona, a different story. Missouri, we still don't have enough in to be able to make a call on that.
And forgive me, let's see if the brain's still working here at 9:45.
You got a big set of cards there,
this is a late night for the Today Show. But Nebraska has 2 measures, doesn't it?
It does.
1 for, 1 against?
1 for, 1 against. And so we'll see how that
so
one
shakes out. So which one wins? The one with the raw vote?
The one that
majority?
has the one that has the majority. But we don't have enough in to make a call on that.
And of course, there have been other states that went this road prior to tonight.
Many states that had went this road and had been able to reach the threshold to pass it, Lester. That's why the Florida situation was interesting, obviously, as we've been discussing, different because of the threshold there. But you think about a place like Michigan, places like Ohio had managed to get it through in the past.
We have another presidential projection here we can put up on the screen here and walk you through it. I see it as you see it. NBC News projects Donald Trump will take the state of Ohio with 17 electoral votes. There is the breakdown of 441,000 vote difference now. 64% of the vote in Ohio, and again, Donald Trump is the winner there. And there's where it takes us on the road to 270. Donald Trump out in front with 185 electoral votes, Harris with 81.
All right, let's go to Savannah Sellers. We always need not 1, but 2 Savannahs sitting at the desk at any time, if possible.
Got it covered.
Exactly. Savannah, I mean, you've been looking a lot into the youth vote, and we were just talking about abortion, and for young women, that obviously is a galvanizing issue for many of them.
It certainly is. For young women, it is their top issue, and that's where we're really seeing a huge gender divide also. For young women, 42% saying it is their top issue to just 10% of men saying that it's their top issue. When you talk about men, it's what you guys were mentioning earlier, the threats to democracy is up there, as well as the economy. There are certain states, too, where we are seeing, I know we were talking about North Carolina a moment ago, where we are seeing Trump improve specifically with that young men, the under 30. In North Carolina, when I came to set just a little bit ago, 60% said they supported him. That's up from 42% that voted for him back in 2020. So continuing to watch that. Abortion was also one where I saw a lot of activation on those college campuses all over the state of North Carolina, just talking about getting out to vote for the presidential ticket with that being attached to it. Of course, with the issue being attached to Harris, and within Michigan as well as in Arizona. Arizona's an interesting one, though, because, of course, as I'm talking to the expert when it comes to Arizona, but the state of ASU.
We're going to check in on the blue wall here, and we have a new characterization in the state of Wisconsin. Our decision desk now calling it too close to call. You can see Kamala Harris out front right now. 23% of the vote in there, but again, too close to call in Wisconsin. Our election night coverage continues next with another batch of poll closings, including a critical swing state. We hope you can stay with us.
After this historic election night, wake up with Today for Live in the Moment update.
Which really is the time when you're supposed to address it. If you see some sort of irregularity with the ballot or voting or voter registration or whatever, handle it before the election. What do you predict in the days ahead?
Well, I don't want to spook Andy, but we could be seeing the emergence of a stable democracy. I know.
What is happening here?
That would go against a lot of narratives out there.
Yes, it would.
No, we have seen states dramatically improve their game this time. I would put Georgia, Virginia, Florida as states that have done, in my view, just an exceptional job. I can't really say that about a few other states. I think Arizona, North Carolina are still having problems, and we're still tracking them. But what we've been seeing today is the usual snafus that you will see, and they have been addressed, I think, fairly ably. That doesn't mean that if this comes to a nail-biter, then you've got armies of lawyers ready to descend on the scene. But so far, it's been delightfully uneventful.
Yeah, that could change. And Andy, you had a very fascinating 3-part series in National Review looking at a lot of the things that have kind of gotten lost in the campaign about legal issues that are very real and pressing for President Trump. And there will be a big difference for him whether he wins or loses and is sitting as the president-elect and then president. Well, a lot of these things are still being hammered out.
It seems like
we've slept on this a little bit.
Yeah, a little
and
bit.
obviously because of the importance of tonight. But just a week from today, Judge Merchan is supposed to rule
Here in New York.
On the immunity issue.
And that's the hush money Stormy Daniels case.
Where he's got 34
Convictions, yeah.
counts of guilty verdicts. Assuming he rules against Trump, as he reliably has throughout that
Pretty much
litigation,
through the whole thing.
the next issue becomes, will he sentence him on November 26th or not? I assume President Trump will say, because it's an immunity issue, it ought to be appealed before anything else happens, and he will go to the New York appellate courts to try to
slow down that
get
time
that
period.
stopped. Whether he'll prevail on that is a deep question.
Oh, so, okay, well, let's go to our constitutional professor and say, so if Trump were to win the election, would Merchan proceed?
I think he will, judging from what I saw in that courtroom.
So he would sentence a president-elect?
To the harshest possible course for Trump during the trial.
But what do you
of jail. It's going to go on a rocket docket all the way to the Supreme Court. I don't think that he will prevail on that. It's going to get very sporty. If Trump is elected, it'll be sporty either way, yeah. But if he's elected, the question then also becomes the status of Jack Smith. And clearly Trump is planning to dispatch him as special counsel. But keep in mind, the decision to dismiss that case rests with the judge ultimately. And Judge Chutkan will have to make that decision. And also, Smith might not go quietly into the night. I mean, he's got a lot invested here. He's been really pushing to get things done before the election. And keep in mind, there's that dangerous period between the president-elect and the sworn-in president. And Smith may try to close that gap and get, for example, a ruling on immunity before he's given the bum's rush out the door. So what we're going to see, even though we haven't seen a lot of election controversies, we're going to see a lot of prosecution controversies and action right after this election. Yeah. Either way.
That hasn't gone away. And Andy, that's something you write about, the judge. We're talking about the January 6th special election, or excuse me, the special counsel's January 6th case. It's a federal case, and the talk about whether if President Trump wins, he would dismiss that prosecutor. But the judge does have a lot of power in what actually happens with that case.
Yes and no, in this sense. The Justice Department will say, under the Constitution, no one can make the Justice Department proceed with a case. Constitutionally, whether to prosecute or not is a unilateral executive call. But when Congress and the courts hate the idea of unilateral executive power, even when it's true. So when they wrote the rule of procedure, they required that the court, you have to get leave of the court to dismiss the case. I think constitutionally, that has to be a ministerial requirement, otherwise it's unconstitutional, because a court can't make the Justice Department prosecute. But as we saw with General Flynn, when the Trump Justice Department tried to dismiss the indictment against General Flynn, and Judge Emmett Sullivan wouldn't give them leave of court to dismiss it, that went on for a long time, and Trump finally pardoned him. Right. The difference is that came at the end of Trump's administration. This would call for Judge Chutkan to spin this out for 4 years. I don't know that she could.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, we have another torpedo in the water. There Attorney General's office. The appeal argument did not go well for her or
prosecutors.
That's right. Yeah. And so the expectations is that Trump could eke out a victory there. Maybe even a dismissal of the case, but certainly a great reduction. I have a feeling that opinion is written and that they've been holding
We're waiting
onto
for election day.
But that's going to come down probably not long after this day is done.
Let me bring it back for a second, if I could, to election challenges. Right. And we had the ruling in Cobb County. Cobb wanted to allow ballots to be counted up until, I think it was Friday. And then the state Supreme Court came in and said, no, you can't do that. But it looks like those ballots, those mail-in ballots, are going to be held aside. Their relevance really depends on what the margin of victory in Georgia is going to be. But if it's something like 2020, those could become significant.
Yeah, it's always a difference between the potentially provisionally disputed ballots and the margin of victory. I think the one good thing we're seeing here, as Jonathan said, what we've seen so far, it seems to me, is that 2020 was almost like a fire drill for this, and they're more prepared this time than they were last.
It's been much smoother.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you
always
very much.
appreciate our legal
Thank you.
discussions. I always come away from these things somewhat smarter. Me too. Fox News Democracy 24 coverage of election night continues.
Up next, we're going to go live to Texas, where we've just learned that Ted Cruz will hang on to his Senate seat. How close was it? Stay with us.
Modern home security, my tale. What's Simply Safe got that I don't?
24/7 monitoring that acts on an alarm in 5 seconds to help stop crime in real time.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on their way.
Plus no contracts, ever.
Maybe Simply Safe and I could work together.
Scaredy cat.
There's no safe like Simply Safe.
The freedom to live in safety. That's an American dream.
Fox Monday, with only one episode until the fall finale.
We got a somebody.
It's the most shocking rescue
Our paraglider victim just woke up in the hospital.
of this season.
He wasn't alone.
What?
Rescue High Surf, all new Monday after 911 Lone Star on Fox.
What is your name?
Amy Larson,
What is your occupation?
an attending physician, internal medicine.
You have children?
Katie and Danny,
How old are they?
9 and 7. Babe, what's wrong?
We're not together anymore. We got divorced.
She has partial retrograde amnesia. She can't remember the last 8 years.
I don't know who I am now, but healing people is the thing that I love most. I will be a doctor again.
Which can only happen once you're no longer a patient.
I will do everything I can to get my life back.
It's a beautiful life.
So nervous right now.
Fox Wednesday.
The first audio duel of the season.
Synthesizer.
Accordion.
Guitar. Ukulele.
When the game goes this wild, sound the nerd alert.
The category is Star Wars.
I know Star Wars better than almost anyone else.
And may the floor be with you.
The winner of this battle will have the most pieces on the floor.
The Floor, all new Wednesday after The Masked Singer on Fox.
Our coverage continues top of the hour as the counting remains underway in critical battlegrounds.
Yes, the polls are about to close in a lot more states at the top of the hour. And of course, we are watching the all-important state of Pennsylvania as we take a live look at Philadelphia.
That's right.
We don't.
Well, listen, folks are voting.
You look a lot like Philadelphia.
This is New York
Resemble
City.
the Liberty Bell.
Tubi is proud to be free for small business owners, the lifeblood of our communities, upholding the American dream. But Tubi's also free for thugs and cronies who shake down small businesses for money, then spend it on their girlfriends, even though they have wives. Because Tubi is free for everyone, and we mean everyone.
Not exactly the music you were hoping for? It's time to call Precision. When it comes to garage doors, don't trust just anyone. Call the experts. Our certified technicians are ready to tackle any issue. For a limited time, purchase any new door and get a Genie opener included and up to $300 in cashback savings. Did you hear that? Much better. From garage door repairs to complete installations, we're the team that's got your back. Because at Precision, we fix garage doors right.
Attention! If you have Medicaid and live in Georgia and need assistance with daily living, you can get help in the comfort of your own home by a loved one with a service offered through Medicaid. Call Freedom Care now so you can receive daily help preparing meals, bathing, doing laundry, receiving transportation, and more. All done by a family member that lives with you and gets paid to be your caregiver. You get to decide who provides your care, and your caregiver gets paid weekly. This service is provided through Medicaid. Call in the next 10 minutes to see if you qualify. The Freedom Care family will explain the process, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. Freedom Care is a leading choice for home care in Georgia and has received over 5,000 five-star reviews. They've been helping families for years. This service is available through Medicaid. So call right now and see how fast you can get started with Freedom Care.
You need a team you can trust. At Reliable Heating and Air, we're committed to keeping you cozy all year long. Since 1978, Reliable has offered home heating and cooling services with exceptional reliability and customer service. Now that's reliable.
Live local news is now on Fox Local. On your streaming device, search Fox Local. Choose Atlanta for the most live local news. Check out the weather dashboard and follow breaking news and weather. Join us on Fox Local today.
The race for the presidency enters its last lap. All the months of campaigning, the speeches, the voter handshakes come down to this. Our next president will either be former President Donald Trump
or Vice President Kamala Harris. Vote totals are pouring in from across the nation and around the state. Election night in Georgia starts right now.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us on Fox 5 tonight. I'm Russ Spencer.
I'm Courtney Bryan. In addition to the presidency, there are plenty of big races in the House and Senate, also local races. We'll be breaking down all of them over the next few hours. But we will begin with the presidency and the race to 270 electoral votes. Here's a look at the latest electoral map. And you can see the night is still early, but so far, former President Trump has 195 electoral votes. Vice President Harris has 117 electoral votes, but you can see all the states in gray still have yet to be filled in for either candidate.
Yes, and many of those are the swing states: North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. This is what it looks like in Georgia right now. Donald Trump with 52% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 47%, this with 80% of the precincts reporting. But let me give you some context here. Gwinnett County has only reported 13% of its vote. The rest of Metro Atlanta, much of it has yet to report. DeKalb County, just half of its vote. Fulton County, 61%. Cobb County, 68%. Kamala Harris is going to win all of those counties, and Donald Trump may very well win the state of Georgia, but it will not be by the margin that you see there on your screen. Both the candidates and their supporters are gathered to watch parties right now, eagerly awaiting those election results. Former President Trump is hosting a watch party in West Palm Beach, Florida, and Vice President Harris is at Howard University, her alma mater in Washington, D.C. These are live pictures from both of those events.
And Fox 5 has team coverage for you tonight. We're covering everything from the candidates to their watch parties and, of course, monitoring the vote count.
We begin with Fox 5's Rob DiRienzo, who joins us live from the Republican.
It's 10 o'clock. I'm David Dutton in the Channel 1 Atlanta Election Command Center in Atlanta. And we have new states that are coming in right now. And so far, Trump is winning the electoral votes and the votes that you casted today. Flores has 205 of them. The electoral votes on the road to 270. Need 270 to win, and he has nearly 40 million votes so far compared to Harris's nearly 35 million, so he's about 5 million ahead, and she has 117 electoral votes. Montana goes red for Trump. He picks up 4 additional electoral votes. Utah goes red for Trump, picking up 6 additional electoral votes. Georgia is still a toss-up at the moment, with 16 electoral votes hanging in the balance. New York goes blue for Kamala Harris, picking up 28 additional electoral votes.
Estimate as the race stands right now based on the information we've received to date.
those are the latest results just coming in at the 10 o'clock hour. We will, of course, have more at 11. And we will keep you updated. Again, we may have a projected winner for president within the hour. Stay with us for continuing coverage.
So here's North Carolina. Now,
Party very excited, and just as you're seeing in Buckhead, they're Rob with the GOP. The Democrats also cheering here in Harris's favor. So still very excited here tonight. And as you know, certainly since Kamala Harris entered the race, this has certainly been a situation where we've seen renewed energy within the Democratic Party, and we are certainly seeing that in this room tonight. Of course, Kamala Harris has said repeatedly during her time campaigning several times here in Georgia that she is the underdog in this race, telling her supporters that they had a lot of work to do to win the presidency. The Harris campaign not letting up even today. Senator Raphael Warnock campaigning for her, canvassing in South Metro. VP Harris herself making a radio appearance on the Big Tigger Morning Show on B103 in Atlanta this morning, making that final appeal to Georgia voters. We also heard from Georgia Democratic Party Chair Congresswoman Nikema Williams today. She took the stage earlier this evening. She thanked supporters for their hard work for the Harris campaign. She called this a historic night, saying Harris built a movement on visions of unity and hope.
She won't be a president for Democrats, Republicans, or just those who voted for her. She'll be a president for all the people. That's what our country needs and deserves, and that's why I voted for this new way forward in our country.
Now, even though the early numbers don't look that great for Harris right now, as far as retaking once again the 2020 win for Georgia, as you said, Russ, this is certainly very early in here in Georgia, and Nikema Williams pointed out as well, saying very early in the night and still a lot of votes to be counted here in Georgia. Back to you. And as you know, Deidre, a lot of those votes are in Metro Atlanta, specifically where Democrats are typically strong, right? That's right, certainly. And she really wanted to make that point because she said even in her district, as we talked to her early in the evening, that several of those votes still had not made it in, had not been counted. And so she said that they were ready for the long haul here in downtown Atlanta tonight. All right, we're going to keep monitoring all the numbers as they continue to come in. Deidre, we'll check back with you. Thanks. Now, besides the candidates, the biggest story of the day here has been bomb threats. Those bomb threats closed multiple polling locations today across Metro Atlanta. Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, and Gwinnett among them. Fulton County officials say 32 locations received threats. As a result, several polling locations closed late to accommodate extra voters. The Secretary of State's office says some of those bomb threats actually came in from Russia. Fox News' Denise Dillon joins us live with the details. Denise, any sense that this discouraged people from voting?
You know, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says not really, because they acted quickly, law enforcement responded quickly, and everything was clear. What the Secretary did say is that records were broken today. Lines were short and voting was very quick. There were some problems. Of course, Cobb had some delayed openings at a couple of its precincts, and those bomb threats in precincts in DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett County, but those all turned out to be non-credible, and at this point, Raffensperger says they have been linked to Russia. He says the big thing we need to focus on here is the high voter turnout. The number of Georgians voting in this election topped 5.2 million. A little more than 4 million took part in early voting, and the 1 million who went to the polls today were in and out in an average of 10 minutes.
With our electronic poll pads, people were checking in, and we were checking it all day long in 49 seconds. We think that's awesome, and so did the voters.
You want me to call? Now, results also came in quickly initially, more than 60% by 9 p.m. We're expecting another update from the Secretary of State within the hour. Reporting live, Denise Dillon, Fox 5 News.
All right, Denise, thanks for the latest there. Let's take another look at the Georgia numbers in the presidential race. Donald Trump with 52% of the vote at this point to Kamala Harris's 47%. A little more than 200,000 votes between them. You'll remember the margin of Joe Biden's victory 4 years ago was 11,779 votes. Very, very close, much closer than what we're looking at there, obviously.
And once again, the election here in Georgia has big impacts for the entire nation. We are one of 7 key battleground states.
Fox 5 anchor Christine Spiro is breaking down the results with our panel of experts from both sides of the political aisle. Christine?
Yeah, we're hanging on with bated breath to see what these election day numbers are going to do to this vote count. I'm here with Lori Geary, our Georgia Gang host, along with Theron Johnson and Brian Robinson tonight. Great to see you guys. Glad to be with you. Lori, you have been crunching the numbers here. We've been doing math in our head. We probably should pull out our calculator and do it. But what are you seeing with these numbers and how the election day vote might impact things?
I think the reason why it's just still way too close to call here in Georgia is because if you think about the numbers right now, Donald Trump is about 216,000 votes ahead of Kamala Harris. But what we're waiting on are the election day, the numbers from today, a lot of them, especially in Fulton and Gwinnett and Cobb and DeKalb counties. And the question is, will she have enough votes to take over that number? And we've seen this happen before in Georgia, and that's why I think right now it's just way too close to call.
Yeah. Theron, our Democratic strategist, is here with us as well. How are you feeling about it right now? Do you think there are enough votes out there that will break for Harris?
Well, this is very reminiscent of 4 years ago. I remember being in the studio and sort of hoping that there were enough votes out there. And Lori just did that there are in places like Fulton, Cobb, Gwinnett, key, strong Democratic voting counties. So when you ask me the question, are there enough voters out there? Yes, there is. But I think that the thing that's very interesting now is that both campaigns know who these voters are. They know if they voted absentee. They know they did it the day of. And some of these voters actually voted provisional. And we heard today that there were a lot of folks that were sort of turned around because of addresses. They had to go out and confirm. And then, of course, the bomb threats was something that definitely was a distraction. But ultimately, I think that the Harris-Walz campaign still feels very strongly that they can win Georgia.
Brian, we talked about this a little bit earlier, the early vote turnout, especially for the rural vote in Georgia, was fantastic.
Yes. It was absolutely extraordinary. And we see in some of those counties where Trump is getting 90, 91% of the vote and increasing on his margins from 2020, which is critical. One thing I'm looking at here in the core counties of Metro Atlanta, and yes, Theron is right, those are going to be Democratic victories in those counties. So it comes down to the margins in them. And Trump has to hold his own on the 2020 margins, not lose any ground on those, and then benefit from the upsurge of votes in the highly Republican parts of the state. We're also seeing huge numbers in the exurbs, Cherokee, Forsyth. These are really strong Republican counties.
But he's done better in this time around, you're saying, like Cherokee and Forsyth.
Well, we're seeing huge turnouts in counties that are big Republican counties.
Okay.
And so, but you know, you look at Fayette County on the south side, Trump is underperforming his 2020 number right now. That's something to keep an eye on as is going to begin to shrink. Republicans need to be patient and wait this out. This is very normal in Georgia as we wait for DeKalb and Fulton counties and these counties that are still coming in.
Yeah. So you think with 20% of the vote, you might think left. You think, oh, well, this is might. It's not. That 20% of the vote that's still out there is going to be critical.
It is, and I think if you look at the numbers in Cobb, Fulton, and Gwinnett counties, you'll see that Kamala Harris is doing just about as good as Biden did 4 years ago. So there's not a lot of change, not a lot of difference that we're seeing right now. But again, that could change.
Could this be another 12,000 vote difference? Oh my goodness.
Let's hope not.
Maybe less.
All right, we will be back later this hour with our panel. Russ and Courtney, I'll send it back to you.
All right, we're lucky to have all of you to put this in context for us. Thanks very much, Christine. Let's take a look at one of the local congressional races. This is in Northwest Georgia, U.S. House District 14. Marjorie Taylor Greene running for re-election. And she has won handily with 65% of the vote, got 66% ago against retired Army General Sean Harris.
For House results, this is District 6. The Congresswoman Lucy McBath easily wins re-election with 75% of the vote, representing District 6, which is just north of Atlanta. As the results continue to come in, we'll continue to update you right here on Fox 5 and on our website.
And for the most up-to-date election results, scan the QR code on your screen there. It takes you to our website where we've got results of both local and national races. If you missed this QR code, don't worry, we'll be showing it throughout the newscast.
And coming up, ballot results continue to pour in from across the state. We're taking a deeper dive into how counties across our state voted.
Upset stomach? Iberogast. Indigestion? Iberogast. Bloating? Iberogast. Thanks to a unique combination of herbs, Iberogast helps relieve 6 digestive symptoms to help you feel better. 6 digestive symptoms, the power of nature. Iberogast.
Get ready, drop the confetti. Introducing Home Theater, My Style, the new SoundTech motion leather living room.
By Shaq.
The ultimate home theater experience now at Rooms to Go. Big sound, big comfort, very cool. Ready to entertain with our epic SoundTech built-in audio system that surrounds you with amazing sound.
And Shaq knows sound.
And power motion that moves you. I said stop.
The new SoundTech motion leather living room by Shaq.
Exclusively now at Rooms to Go.
Allie S. asks, how many devices can my Wi-Fi handle?
That's an easy one, Allie. The average home has more devices than ever.
But our gateways are engineered to handle hundreds.
So not only will they work today,
they'll also work tomorrow.
That's our new intern.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now through December 22nd, power all your devices with fast, reliable Xfinity internet for just $35 a month for 12 months and get free Wi-Fi equipment included.
Fox Local is Fox 5. Live news and more on your phone, on your TV, as local as you are. Fox Local.
Cough, cough, sneeze, sneeze. Achoo. Needs plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Alka-Seltzer Plus cold and flu. When speed is what you need, bounce back fast with Alka-Seltzer Plus. Also try the new chewable Fizzy Chews. No water needed.
We've got inside access to Georgia's elite football program. Watch Bulldogs Now Saturdays at 8 a.m. on Fox 5.
Presented by Hoffman Financial Group.
Welcome back to our election coverage. We continue to follow and monitor all the results as they come in.
Georgia once again at the center of the presidential race. The state's 16 electoral votes are key to both campaigns.
Let's go now to Fox 5 anchor Tom Haynes with a look at how some of the counties in our area are voting right now.
Yeah, guys, and I'm joined by Lori Aguirre to help break down and analyze where we're at as a state. Remember, in 2020, it wasn't, Lori, until well into the next day that we knew the results. I don't know how tonight is going to trend, but Kamala Harris needs to make up some ground here.
That's right.
Particularly if we're to zoom into some of the Atlanta counties. We're talking about almost 200,000 plus votes. So, A, can she do it? And what do we know about the day of votes coming in right now?
We know there's a lot of missing day of votes right now in Fulton and also Cobb.
So we wanted to take a moment here. David Entbeck live in the Election Command Center here in Atlanta. We'll be with you all night long if you're just joining us. Continuing election coverage from a variety of sources throughout the country. We did this earlier within the past hour. Go back down here to Georgia, which is where we are, and could end up being the deciding factor tonight in this election to see which way Georgia is going right now. And with 16 electoral votes up at odds, and with 82% of the precincts reporting, Trump is leading 51% to Kamala Harris's 47%. He is about 200,000 votes ahead of her in Georgia right now. Trump is winning the counties in the rural areas of Georgia. Harris is leading in the cities around Georgia, including the immediate metropolitan Atlanta area, including Fulton County, Atlanta, Columbus, looks like the Albany area, Augusta, Savannah, and far south Georgia in and near Valdosta. So she's winning the cities, he's winning the rural areas of Georgia. But the thing about it is, if you look at this, you see that on a map that Georgia's mostly red right now, but more people live in the cities than they do in the rural areas, so that's where you get the difference. And again, it's still fairly close here, but we're up to 82%, and within the hour, we should have most of the votes in Georgia counted. So it won't be long now before we can project the winner here in Georgia, and so far, Trump is winning nearly 52% to Harris's 47%. Our live coverage continues right now with some local election alerts as we go back to WAGA TV in Atlanta. Actually, what we're going to do right now is go over to ABC News. We have an election alert to tell you about first. Donald Trump has won the state of Ohio. That has just been projected from CBS News and Fox News, and he picks up 17 additional electoral votes there. So he is at 205 and she is at 117 on the electorals, on the road to 270. You need 270 to win the presidency. And your votes, Trump has over 43 million votes and she has over 38 million votes at the present time. So roughly about a 5 million difference lead there with Trump. So there's that. Now let's go back over to ABC News for continuing coverage. And we'll be back shortly with another update.
Here started a recount of some 31,000 absentee ballots after it was discovered that the 18 tabulation machines in this room didn't have the doors completely sealed.
And let's take a look at the state ballot question results. This is the Georgia constitutional amendment about creating a tax court. 52% say yes at this point, 48% no. Very close.
Fox 5 News is brought to you by your Georgia Drives Chevy dealers.
The holidays. And holiday trips. And holiday toys. And holiday bonding. And it all comes together in a Chevrolet.
Find your red tag. Get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups. Plus, get $3,750 total value on this Silverado when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Georgia Drives Chevy.
Popeye's wings are the official wing of watching football. Win the wing game every week with 7 signature flavors, including new sweet and smoky chipotle.
Speaking of flavor, this holiday season, you can order a Cajun-style turkey at your local Popeyes.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Atlanta homeowners know good windows, doors, and siding. Why? Because we installed them. See for yourself why we're Atlanta's leader in exterior renovation. Call today to schedule your free estimate.
They don't know that nearly half of all used cars have been in an accident. But Carfax shows how accidents impact price, so they don't have to overpay. Unpause.
Oh, almost no accidents.
Them to do. And I just want to mention, Nora, a really interesting storyline that you guys have been talking about here in Philadelphia. We know that the 3 wards with the most...
We lose 1% of our collagen every year starting in our 20s, which means we must start banking collagen for plumper, glowing skin. Do it with Neutrogena Collagen Bank. Trust me, I'm a banker.
Shouldn't they trust me, the dermatologist?
It's not a competition.
HCM is a serious heart condition affecting as many as 1 in 200 people, like me.
And me. I was still short of breath on my beta blocker.
So I talked to my cardiologist
and asked about treatment advances in HCM.
That talk made a real difference.
It gave me new hope.
Talk to your cardiologist today. Visit hcmrealtalk.com to learn more.
If you're in pain but need to stay mobile, you need CopperFit Rapid Relief, the revolutionary line of hot and cold therapy wraps that keep you mobile while you recover, no matter where it hurts. A breakthrough adjustable design with a soft gel pack insert in a lightweight copper-infused wrap for targeted hot or cold pain-relieving therapy of sore muscles and achy.
And it's right in our metropolitan areas throughout the state. And of course, all of the red there is the strength of the Trump vote in rural Georgia.
And it is also a busy night in Gwinnett County.
Gwinnett County Bureau Chief Matt Johnson continues our live Team 2 coverage. Inside election headquarters, they're tallying votes. Matt.
And record turnout is a story here in Gwinnett County tonight as poll managers behind me are dropping off even more results as we speak. 419,000 voters in Gwinnett County cast their ballots. That includes in-person voting and absentee ballots. That tops 2020's results of 405,000 votes. Also, we're hearing that 2,000 poll workers were spread around Gwinnett County today, meaning that results are coming in quicker. I just got an update in the last 10 minutes. I was told that 300,000 votes are sent to the Secretary of State's office to be published momentarily. So even more votes are coming in by the minute. Live in Gwinnett County, Matt Johnson, Channel 2 Action News.
All right, Matt, thank you much. Cobb County also has Sheriff and County Commission Chair on the ballot.
Our Cobb County Bureau Chief Michelle Newell continues our live Team 2 coverage now from election headquarters. Michelle.
Here at Cobb County election headquarters, votes are being counted, processed. The majority of precincts are in. All early in-person ballots have been uploaded and published to the Secretary of State's website. The majority of absentee ballots have also really no significant problems to report tonight, other than some equipment issues at 2 precincts, which caused those locations to open up a little later, close a little later. Election officials telling us that there were some problems with the polling pads. Overall voter turnout, really record numbers. Still a lot happening tonight. Everything should be in by 11, and we'll stay on top of it. Live here from Cobb County, Michelle Newell, Channel 2 Action News.
Michelle, thank you. Could be an early night then. And Fulton County was a big focus during the 2020 election. It's busy again there tonight.
And Audrey Washington continues our live Team 2 coverage now from the Fulton County Elections Hub and Ops Center. Audrey.
Right, I'm here live at the Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center. Just want to show you what it looks like here behind me at this hour. This is where the ballots are still being counted. Now, we were just briefed by officials, including by the police chief. He told us his department responded to 32 bomb threats against polling locations here in Fulton County today. 5 polling places had to be evacuated. Those polling locations stayed open anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes later to compensate for the temporary shutdown. Now, election officials told us they have the bulk of results, and that includes some same-day and absentee votes. They hope those votes will all be counted by at least midnight. Right now, we are live here in Fulton County. Audrey Washington, Channel 2 Action News.
Audrey, thank you. Remember, we'll continue to scroll the latest results at the bottom of your screen.
Please join us for our special 1-hour edition of WSB Tonight coming up in a half hour.
Channel 2's Brad Nitz is Atlanta's chief meteorologist. He's been with you for nearly 2 decades, guiding you through dangerous North Georgia storms, tornadoes, historic flooding, ice storms, out in local communities when they're hit hard. As a weather scientist, he uses the most cutting-edge tools and technology to accurately predict your weather.
It's all about keeping your family safe.
As a
take over the state.
Yeah, at this point, it looks like Vice President Harris, the remaining vote that's out there needs to be pretty sizably in her favor as it gets reported in. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. We do have several counties, Gwinnett County, Chatham County specifically, that are usually big Democratic vote counties that have not reported fully, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and especially when we talk about Gwinnett County, if you point that out there, you know, we still have some outstanding votes here, just a little under 30%, but Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, would need to take pretty much almost all of that.
She would need to take a sizable portion for sure. She needs to perhaps even do better than the percentage that she's done so far.
All right, we will continue to watch. Dr. Taylor, thank you. Blair?
Now let's get to some of the statewide ballot questions. Georgia Amendment 1, which authorizes a home property tax exemption, is projected to pass. It has more than 60% of the vote here.
Georgia Amendment 2 for creating a state tax court is a bit closer in the margins. Right now, 52% yes to 48% no.
As for Georgia Referendum A, it's projected to pass. This increases the personal property tax exemption in Georgia.
We will be here throughout the night for Decision 2024 on Atlanta News First, and we can send you immediate election results to your phone. Just text the number that's on your screen right now.
CBS News election headquarters here in New York. It is 10:30 p.m. in the east, 7:30 in the west, and we have a CBS News projection in a closely watched Senate race in Maryland. CBS News projects that Democrat Angela Also Brooks has won in that state over the former governor, Larry Hogan. All night, we have been laser focused on those key battleground states that are right here in purple. We have yet to call or project any of these 7 states. They are all toss-ups at this hour. Let's take a look at the peach state of Georgia at this hour. You can see 86% of the vote in, but we're going to dive into the numbers about what's still left to count. Let's take a look too now at North Carolina. As you can see, about 80% of the vote in the Tar Heels state. Donald Trump currently with a lead, but we still rate this as a toss-up as some of the major cities have not yet reported. And then take a look at Pennsylvania. This is the big electoral prize of the night with its 19 electoral votes. And Republican sources I'm talking with there say that Donald Trump has performed well in the rural counties, but just 57% of the vote in. And if you were with us 4 years ago on this journey, you'll remember that it took a few days to get the full count in from Pennsylvania. They do not pre-process their ballots like most other states do. So it takes them a little bit longer. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It just, you got to pack your patience. So let's go inside these numbers and touch base with Major Garrett. He's over here at the data desk, and I think this is our first time actually in the same room together all night, Major. Yes.
Welcome to the room where it happens.
I know. I'm excited to be here because Pennsylvania, everybody's curious about what's going on in that state. We'd heard about some polling places staying open late, young kids in line.
Lehigh University, exactly. So let's just walk through very gradually where we are currently in Pennsylvania. Here's where the outstanding vote is yet to come in. This is where the Harris campaign is hoping it can make up some ground. You see around Philadelphia and the collar counties and Pittsburgh and Allegheny. I will show you some numbers now, Nora, that illustrate what's outstanding. So, Bucks County, more than 200,000 votes still outstanding. Montgomery County, 342. Chester County, 300,000. Delaware County, 243. Philadelphia, 256. Allegheny County, 192,000. All of that is still outstanding. So how do we look at Pennsylvania writ large right now? We look at it this way. to prevail in Pennsylvania, claim those vital 19 electoral votes, Kamala Harris, the vice president, needs 52% of the outstanding vote. What is our current estimate based on the data? 54%. So she is in position currently to achieve victory in Pennsylvania based on the data set as we know it and as it overlays exit poll data and historical trends. That's where we are in Pennsylvania right now.
Because you are saying there is still a huge outstanding vote, not only in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but what we call these collar counties.
Precisely, the suburbs around Philadelphia. And let's look as
These are high population centers, and of course we know Trump does very well in the rural areas.
So let's walk through some of them in that area. Here's Bucks County. Robert Costa was just talking about it. That's the current trend, only 34% in, but let's look at the historical. So right now, again, it's early, a third of the vote in, running slightly ahead of the percentages in Bucks County. Let's go right next door to Montgomery County, running a little bit ahead then. Again, 36% in. You don't want to draw too many conclusions. Not so favorably in Chester County, running a little bit behind there, but as you closer you get to Philadelphia, running a little bit ahead. These are positive signs for the Harris campaign, at least initially. Also, Allegheny County, that's Pittsburgh, running slightly ahead of the totals there. And in Lackawanna County, Scranton, not running right next to former President Biden for obvious reasons, but competitive there. And in Luzerne County, running slightly ahead of Joe Biden. Those are somewhat soft, encouraging signs for the vice president, at least in Pennsylvania.
But what about the rural counties that he may be doing even better than he did 4 years ago?
So let's look at the ones that the Trump campaign was very focused on outside of Pittsburgh. Let's go to Butler County, which has all sorts of literal resonance for the president.
Interesting.
Running right about where he was in 2020. Beaver County, also a nice place, doing well there. Westmoreland County, even a larger concentration of voters, more strongly there. Washington County, competitive, doing, generally speaking, a little bit better or as well as he was right around Pittsburgh. Center County, Trump is running a little bit better than he did in 2020. And let's go to the all-important Erie County, which we all focus on. Again, 32% of the vote in. Kamala Harris doing slightly better than, considerably better than Joe Biden did, at least at this stage of the evening in Pennsylvania.
We have a projection, but then I want to go inside the numbers in the other blue wall states of Michigan and Wisconsin. But first, CBS News projects Iowa is for Trump, that the former president has won the state of Iowa. You see just a little bit more than half the vote in there. There had been that poll by the Des Moines Register suggesting that she was doing much better than expected, but Iowa, a reliably Republican state there, and those 6 electoral votes now in the Republican column. John Dickerson wanted to check in with you. What are the exit polls showing us?
Various different splits with the electorate. We've also talked about how there are shifts going on. Donald Trump is getting more of the African-American vote than you might have expected, or you would have expected a Republican to get in the past. We've talked about Latino voters. Another key way to think about the electorate is between college and non-college voters. Particularly, let's look at white college voters. That's to say, voters with a college degree. So let's look at white voters with a college degree. Kamala Harris, 54 to 44. So that's a 10-point margin. The reason this is important is this is a key part of the new emerging Democratic base doing well with college-educated voters. That's 7 points better than Joe Biden did in 2020. He won that group, white college voters with a degree, by only 3 points. Now let's look at the other group, which is the one that Donald Trump does well in, and that's white voters without a college degree. Now you see he is creaming Kamala Harris, 65 to 33 among white voters without a college degree. So that's a 32-point difference, but that's a little bit less than he did in 2020 when he beat Joe Biden with that same group by 35 points. So this is we see the shift happening. Kamala Harris overperforming with white college voters. Donald Trump doing essentially as he did in 2024, although a little bit worse. Why, of course, this matters is in the key battleground states. White non-college voters are a big part of Wisconsin and Michigan. In those states, the picture is a little bit more mixed. Now, I'm not going to have exit poll slides for you or graphics, but just to give you a sense of the picture. In Pennsylvania, the picture we just described, where Kamala Harris is doing well with white college voters, she's doing 19 points better than Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. Biden beat him only by 9. Trump is beating her by 29 points with voters without a college degree who are white, beating her by 29 points, but he beat Biden by 32. So the Pennsylvania story matches that national story. But in Wisconsin, and I'll just wind it down here, Wisconsin and Michigan, it's much tighter. White college vote for Harris is about what it was for Biden. White non-college, Trump is doing a little bit better in Wisconsin than he did in 2020. In Michigan, Harris is doing a little bit better among white college voters, but in white non-college, Trump is up by 3. So in those two key states, the picture's a little bit more mixed than at the national level. Nora, back to you wherever you may be.
I know, John. I decided to stay over here with Major Garrett.
Sure. Well, who can blame you? Who can blame you?
No offense to any of you, but of course, I'm geeking out over here at the board, and I wanted to know about Michigan and Wisconsin because we haven't yet got to dive into those numbers. So, Major, take it away.
So, again, Michigan, 23% of the vote in. We have a current lead for the vice president. Where's the outstanding vote? Well, okay. As we mentioned earlier, as Anthony went through this, Wayne County, Washtenaw, that's Ann Arbor, Oakland. Very large concentration of outstanding vote there. What is the overall needs for President Trump to prevail in Michigan? What is our current projection? 46%. Again, these are projections based on the vote that's come in so far, our estimation of what the overall turnout will be, and overlaying that with exit poll data. So that's what we can basically say about Michigan at this hour.
Okay, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Let's go there now. We have 52% of the vote in. Where is that vote that we still need to see come in? Where is it concentrated? Milwaukee and Madison. Those are good, strong areas for the vice president. What is the general orientation? Vice President Harris, according to our estimates, needs 50% of the outstanding vote. We saw just a moment ago where it's concentrated, Madison and Milwaukee and the surrounding suburbs. According to our estimates, she's going to get 43% of that outstanding vote. That could be problematic in Wisconsin for some of the reasons that John mentioned on some of the exit poll data in that state, showing a difference of the coalitions and the assemblage therein.
So she may be in trouble in Wisconsin.
She may be in trouble in Wisconsin, exactly, based on our current estimates, yes.
What about Door County?
Door County, let's bring that out. Door.
Interesting.
76% in.
So sometimes Door County has, well, I think Door County has always predicted the potential.
Door County has a near perfect record, and she is running slightly behind Joe Biden. Trump is currently in the lead there. We have it a light shade of red, leaning Trump.
Really interesting. All right. Thank you, Major, for indulging me. Now to Maurice Dubois at our Path to Victory table. And Maurice, I know we're all looking about the importance of Pennsylvania.
We sure are, Nora. Thank you so much. Let's first take you through where we stand right now. We are at 201 for Donald Trump, 91 for Kamala Harris. But if we look at the beginning of the night, this is where we expected and will expect the votes to go throughout the evening. Red states for Trump, blue states for Kamala Harris. She started with 226. He started with 219. And what we believe to be likely based on past experience and past voting. Okay, so let's see what Pennsylvania, how it shakes out when it comes to being pivotal for Donald Trump. If he were to flip Georgia and get the 16 votes there, electoral votes, and take North Carolina and to hold on to that, and then go to Pennsylvania and take the 19 electoral votes there. We talked about this earlier, but that would bring him straight to 270, lights out. He's the next president of the United States. If he cannot hold on to Pennsylvania, he then has to go through the southern strategy, the Sun Belt, if you will. So that would mean flipping Georgia, holding on to North Carolina, taking Arizona, taking Nevada as well. He's still not there. He's at 268, so he would have to take one of the upper Midwest, right? If he doesn't get Pennsylvania, he'd have to take Wisconsin or Michigan, and he gets right there to 278. Now, for Harris, Pennsylvania is huge. It's big. So if she were to take Pennsylvania and hold on to it, Joe Biden won it by 82,000 votes last time, and to hang on to Michigan, this is the blue. And Wisconsin, we don't know where that's going to go. That would get her right to 270. So Pennsylvania, pivotal as it has been for so many elections in the past. But again, we're at nail-biter status, 7 battleground states. We just don't know. This is where we stand right now. Nora.
Maurice Dubois, thank you so much. And when we come back, we'll have new results to report. CBS News, America Decides. Election 2024. We'll be back in a moment.
Get all the CBS News election information at your fingertips, including full access to interactive election maps, push alerts on major races, plus breaking news and 24/7 streaming coverage. Get the free CBS News app now.
When you have moderate to severe eczema, it's okay to show off. With Dupixent, show off your clearer skin and less itch. Because you have plenty of reasons to show off your skin. With Dupixent, the #1 prescribed.
Back live here in the Channel 1 Atlanta Election Command Center. Live from Atlanta, it's 10:43 in the evening, and we're continuing to bring you coverage throughout the night. So far, we have former President Trump winning 211 electoral votes, 48 million plus actual votes, to Harris's 117 electoral votes, with 270 needed to win the presidency, and 42 million plus actual votes. Those were your votes that you voted for today and throughout this month in early voting. So right now, Trump is about a little over 5 to 6 million actual votes ahead, and he's ahead in the electoral. Again, 270 needed to win, and he has 211 right now. Again, Trump does good in the rural areas. Usually Democrats do well in the cities. The cities, of course, have more people. That's why you see sometimes a state, if you go county by county, can be mostly red, but the areas around the cities that happen to go blue with the most people, that's where the Democrats could win that way. But again, Trump leading 211 to 117 over Harris. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you.